Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month to month basis. It's time to crack open our movie
Movie
memoirs.
Memoirs!
Dragon, for like half a second, I was tempted to do that as Borat. Hello, armchair Imagineers. I'm Tiki. All right, I'm not gonna do Borat. So, Dragon, this month has been in terms of movies, because God knows there's other things that have been happening this month, but in terms of movies, this month, I gotta say, for me personally, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. And not even so much a mixed bag, Dragon. It's funny because all the movies that I've seen for the most part, the ketchup's a little bit more all over the place. I'll say that much. The ketchup has been all over the place. But for the movies that I have seen, the big four that have come out, the ones that we're really going to talk about. Dragon, I am so mixed on like literally all of these movies where it's like they both have really, really strong elements, really great moments where they just absolutely sing and sort of their full potential. And there's little things that kind of drag them back, and I can't. I don't know, Dragon. We'll get into it as we talk about the movie specifically, but I gotta say there wasn't one movie this month that really wowed me, but all of them were good. All of them had potential. I enjoyed all of them. So, man, it was a weird month for me, Dragon. It really was.
Okay.
How was it for you, buddy?
I don't know. I thought it was, honestly, the main kind of October movies. Pretty good, in my opinion. I think it was kind of a rousing success all around, pretty much, yeah.
All right, we'll get into it. I think we might have Dragon. It might be just like nitpicky, cynical asshole Tiki talking here. I'm sure it is for the
Quite
most part, but
possibly.
we'll get into it. Okay. And then one other thing I want to talk about with this month is that I did definitely have some really, like I said, the catch up was interesting, Dragon. The catch up, half of it was pretty much through the haunted holiday hijinks that we did, and then half of it was just like really random stuff that I just happened to watch. One of them in particular, you might probably know which one it is. It's just like the absolute, like it just came into work, and I was like, I have to watch this. So
Hmm.
we'll see how it goes. Really random month, Dragon, just kind of all over the place. Very eclectic for me. All right, so Dragon, with that in mind, let's get into the news.
The news.
All right, so of course, 2020 has to come along and kick another icon down. Sean freaking Connery, man. This is one of those. It almost feels like the movie star equivalent of Stan Lee, right? Where it's like you feel like he's going to be around forever. He's just kind of like this iconic, like multi-generational person who just several generations of people just grew up with and admired, and he's just got such a presence, such a persona, just a very, very iconic face and voice. And so, Dragon, yeah, this was, not necessarily like, because Connery's, of course, been out of acting for years and years, so it's not necessarily the most surprising news, but it's definitely a somber passing for sure.
Absolutely. It was not the best way to start off Halloween, I'll say that much.
Oh God. Although I do think there is kind of a fun quality to if he was going to go out on any day.
I guess. Yeah, I can make a Bond joke right now, but I'm not going to out of respect. Anyway, yeah, but that's so Sean Connery. Not just not just like the Bond. I mean, that goes without saying. He was the Bond of all the James Bonds we have. Everyone's got their own, but let's be honest, you ain't topping Connery. It's going to take a lot to top Connery.
Mhm.
But he was also more. Connery. I think some of the other roles. I mean, the man was. He kind of had fingers in a few different pots, so to speak. Here he was. Henry Jones Sr. Obviously, that's a big one. The Last Crusade. That's a very big introductory point for Sean Connery for me. Seeing him in Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. I mean, that's such a wonderful father-son story. Again, I think you and I both point to one of the great scenes on the beach when he has like a little parasol, kind of little umbrella, and he takes down a plane with, and he's walking off all cocky. Like,
Right, right.
it's this beautiful little moment between father and son. You know what? The old dog still got a few good tricks. He's it's just such, that movie is such an enjoyable it's one of the most rewatchable of the Indiana Jones movies. Don't get me wrong, Raiders is the classic. It's the best. You can't beat Raiders, but still, Last Crusade is like right on, like a rung right under it. It's so much fun.
I mean, Dragon, in my own personal indie rankings, I mean, they're all just absolute like top caliber Spielberg. I would put Last Crusade at number 3 just because I love how batshit crazy and dark Temple of Doom gets. But still, Sean Connery is absolutely the high point of that movie for sure. And I would say his role in that movie is what our generation, like, the generations before us, Dragon, they might remember him for Bond a little bit more than Indy, but I think it's fair to say that we're kind of like reverse, right? Like we have reverence for him as Bond, but our nostalgic soft spot for Connery is definitely with Indy.
Don't get me wrong. When I still hear Bond, I mean, the first name that pops to mind is Connery. I think with all of us, I mean, he was eclectically, it's like the Bond impression. That's Connery.
Sure,
That's the go-to. I mean, he was already in kind of. It's like how Star Wars is in kind of like the status quo. Star Wars even if you haven't seen Star Wars. You got a little bit of a vibe for it even before you get to that point where you eventually see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that with Bond, and that's the thing. How wonderful and reflective it was that with him as Indiana Jones's father. Again, Indiana Jones was kind of the grittier Bond for kind of our generation in a sense. And it was so wonderful that we kind of grandfather him in that way, where he was the father to Indiana Jones. The old school James Bond was kind of our modern James Bond's father, which is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the other thing, I mean, tell me if you had this. Did you have Finding Forrester as a kid in school? Because I did.
No, actually, I did not.
Yeah, they
I've
played in the
never
English
actually seen
class.
Finding Forrester.
Yeah, they played it in class, and that was like another intro. That was kind of the big mind blowing. Oh my god, he can do other things. He's in other
Right,
movies.
yeah.
But I gotta tell you, I kind of found a little later, again before he was gone, but a little late in the game. I found The Untouchables, which fantastic movie, and he's so of course these one of the most quotable, fantastic elements of The Untouchables, of Brian De Palma's Untouchables. He's that's the Chicago way, put one of your guys in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. It's just he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, right.
Again, we always go to like Snowman from Courage. You don't have
Of
that
course.
without Connery, and also like kind of the rough and tumble Alfred. I believe I forget if it was The Untouchables or what movie they're pulling from for that, but the rough and tumble Alfred with Batman, kind of like what we're looking at now with the Andy Serkis Alfred and everything, and just kind of the like even the Gotham Alfred that's modeled after Sean Connery.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He will be missed. For sure.
All right, so next up we have Clark Middleton, which I just got like a shot in the arm of all his best moments on the Blacklist. And yeah, Dragon, I recognize this dude from other places. I'm sure
Yes.
he looks like a very familiar character actor.
He's a true blue character actor,
Uh-huh.
Tiki, this guy. I mean, again, you've seen him in Sin City and Kill Bill
Of
Volume
course,
2.
Kill
He's
Bill,
popped up
yeah,
in
yeah.
places. Very memorable. Like, he's one of like the two henchmen who gets like shot through like the window in Sin City. Like they're like,
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, you just got impaled. Oh, how about that? Ha ha ha, that whole thing.
But yeah, the Blacklist, I mean, Dragon, just based on the little like 10 minutes that I've seen of his character, just looks absolutely delightful.
He is. Tiki again, it's added to the list, buddy boy. The Blacklist is so much fun.
It looks
But
like a lot of fun.
it is, and of course, some of the great scenes, as you witnessed, are when Raymond Reddington needs to find somebody. When James Spader's character, who essentially is like, it's kind of like an intelligence version of Hannibal Lecter, like less serial killer, more like kingpin of crime. Like his nickname's the concierge of crime because he makes the arrangements. That's his whole shtick. Anyway, so he needs people found and things found, so he goes to Glenn, who he set up at the DMV. That's his day job. So Raymond Reddington, this all powerful, he can kind of our FBI's equivalent to a Hannibal Lecter type with intelligence and find like government bad guys to take down. It's just like Raymond Reddington, this intimidating, unstoppable crime boss has to get into these mundane situations where he has to go to the DMV. He's got to wait. All the power goes to Glenn, and he just can't stand it. So many funny scenes from him. I don't know if you can.
Like the running joke is that he gets the job done and he's good at
Yes.
his job. He's a little unreliable.
Absolutely. Again, I think Ray Renton said it best in the clip I showed you. Like, that's the
Oh.
best clip, in my opinion. It's the whole, like, Glenn, you're the best tracker I know, but your mouth runs like a scalded dog. So, yeah, he actually, if you kind of notice, kind of looking at him, he actually had the rheumatoid arthritis as a kid, and he got a series of essentially bad injections that kind of led to, what happened to him. That's why he has, like, I can never pinpoint what exactly it was. That's why he had, like, a bone deformity of some. Of some kind. But that's the thing. I love that despite that, and with all these roles, especially with Glenn, he had the biggest personality in the room against some of the great actors like James Spader, which is fantastic. And it's a shame what took him out too. It wasn't like the virus you think of. It was West Nile virus, actually. I don't know how that happens.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. But he was working till the end.
For mosquitoes.
I'm sorry, what?
From what I know, that spread through mosquitoes.
I know, that's what I'd write, I guess. I mean, that's
wow. That's a freak thing. Jesus.
I tell you, he was working till the end, though. This guy, nothing deterred him. I mean, he was on the last season of Blacklist. I mean, I don't know if they shot anything with him. Well, no, I know they didn't shoot anything with him now because of the way things are. But still, it's yeah. I mean, again, one of the greats, though, Glenn. Of course, Clark Middleton, one of the consummate character actors. I remember it was such a blow when not him. It's like, it's one of those. Okay.
All right. Well, fortunately, Dragon, unlike the past few months, that was the only bit of bad news we have. The rest of it is, for the most part, pretty great news. Honestly.
Yeah. It's we go in the upswing from here,
folks.
At the
very least, interesting.
We've ripped off the Band-Aid. Now we're going to the past. We're talking biopics coming up about.
We're going to take you back to the past. All right.
Okay, so let's talk.
So tell me about this Godfather biopic, Dragon.
Yeah, did you hear about this before I put on the thing?
I think you told me about it once, but please remind me of the details.
Yeah, this sounds really cool. So Barry Levinson's doing a biopic on the making of The Godfather, and it's basically we have Oscar Isaacs playing Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Which I know, right? It's great casting. And so I think the main story, given the casting they revealed, it kind of implies where they're going story-wise here. Well, of course, as you know, Coppola had kind of some studio battles with The Godfather. Wouldn't be historic cinema without it. Am I right? And his I think his antagonist in the film is going to be the studio head, which is being played by Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Evans.
Oh my God! Oh!
Right?
Dragon,
you excited?
Give it to me.
I know, right?
Oh my God!
Sounds great, doesn't it? And you got Levinson involved. I mean, this is a winning formula, right? I'm already sold with Isaacs, man. But this
I'm totally sold on this, Dragon. I'm totally sold.
And there are a lot in Tiki. There are a lot of fantastic stories that come from the making of Godfather. There's a great because they had actual mobsters involved in the movie. Tiki. Luca Brasi was a real life mobster.
Right.
There's a lot of fun there. So the point being, they announced the Godfather biopic. Of course, I don't know when it's going to happen, given where we're at these days. But let's just say I'm looking forward to it all the same. All right. Speaking of biopics, let's transition to a trailer that we got. The project that's coming in November.
Yeah. Let's talk about Mank. Dragon, this is going to be the movie that's like my most anticipated movie of the year, where the casual people at work and everything just will have no idea what I'm talking about.
Looks like it could have the potential to be the Irishman of this year if all succeeds.
Oh man, I mean, I'm honestly looking more forward to this than I was for the Irishman, just because of the director involved. But honestly, when people ask me what my most anticipated movie for the rest of the year is, my answer is probably, just for layman's terms, going to be Soul, and I am stoked for Soul, Dragon. I really am.
I was shopping at the Disney store today, and they had Soul merchandise, and I was so excited about some.
And just for the record, just to touch on it really quick, Soul did come out with a third trailer. I was hesitant to watch it, but honestly, it was a really good trailer because it revealed less of the plot, but gave me more of the feel for the movie, which is what a good trailer should do.
Well,
which is
I
why
haven't watched it just for safety's sake because it's coming. It's coming in, Chris. It's coming like in about a month or so.
I
So I
liked
mean,
it better than the second trailer. The second trailer made me a little bit nervous. So,
that's the point. Being, I'm very excited for it. I bought an awesome shirt with like all the jazz stuff on it. Looks really
oh,
cool.
nice, nice.
I
All
love
right,
when
but
they get the
anyways,
button ups. Oh
so
yeah,
back to
yeah,
Mank. Back to
Mank.
Mank.
Yes, Mank.
So this is David Fincher's big comeback film. He's been working
Yeah.
in the TV circuit for most of the decade
Of course,
after
House of
after
Cards
Gone
being the
Girl.
big thing, he kind of teed up right
House of
back.
Cards and Mindhunter.
Oh, well, yeah, he's behind. He does. Mindhunter's his.
Yeah, he does Mindhunter. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, I hear all sorts of great things about mine. It
Uh-huh.
makes sense. Okay.
So, Dragon, David Fincher is one of my all-time favorite directors. He really, I just think the dude has such a style, such a signature look and vibe to his films.
You're feeling
Uh,
the Finch.
he's just so meticulous. He's so meticulous in what he does, and that meticulousness, Dragon, is going to go so perfectly with this story. I Dragon, this has the potential to me. I compare it less to The Irishman and more to The Lighthouse,
Well, I mean, the
where
black and white, I'm sure, helps with that.
well, the black and white, sure, but also it looks like a very intense story of two people fucking with each other and two people like cloying for power over one another. And man, it looks intimate, but also just like very, very high stakes and thrilling at the same time. Like I said, Dragon, this is not the casual moviegoers kind of movie. This is a movie for like the film files of like
Oh
the
yeah.
cinephiles. But man, I mean, I am stoked for it. I'm like, this is easily my most anticipated of the year, and the fact that it's dropping on Netflix is just like, just great.
I mean, well, of course, a few things. One, the Citizen Kane of it all. That's really exciting too, because great movie, obviously. But what
Mhm.
really excites me looking at the trailer, that really kind of paints a picture for me. And I could be wrong here, but just given what it looks like and everything tone wise, it seems like we're going to parallel Kane with Mank as our main character. He's going to be
Yeah,
kind of in
yeah.
the Charles Foster Kane space. Now, there is a biopic on the making of Citizen Kane that exists already. It's also pretty good. I mean, I don't think it's going as stylistically and deep as this movie, mind you, but it's it's called RKO, which is pretty straight. It's a straightforward like TV movie biopic sort of thing. It's like Liv Shriver plays Orson Welles rather well, by the way. And so you have that, and James Cromwell I think plays William Randolph Hearst, which was also a great cast. My point is, so you had that's pretty much just like kind of dictating the events as played. Now, Mankiewicz is a very famous name in Hollywood. I think it's the nephew of this Mankiewicz, of Herman Mankiewicz, as Tom Mankiewicz, who wrote Superman
Oh,
'78. So
okay.
that's kind of like the cool pedigree of the Mankiewicz in Hollywood. The point being, Gary Oldman in the role, it looks fantastic. I mean, they're building up again the whole parallelism. It looks phenomenal. Very excited for it. I mean, we might want to do some Citizen Kane stuff. But I won't commit us to anything on
Ooh,
paper
we
yet. But
maybe, yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I mean, it just seems fitting. I mean, anyway. So the point being, it's exciting stuff. Okay.
All right. So, Invincible. This is a new. What network is this going on, Dragon?
Amazon.
Amazon.
I think it's
Okay,
going to be
okay.
their first animated show, at least their first kind of real, kind of animated original show they're doing.
So this looks like it has potential. Of course, the big thing that draws me to it, Dragon, even if it's an M&M's commercial, every time I hear J.K. Simmons' voice, I'm just instantly just like, oh, I have to pay attention. And Dragon, basically, what this looks like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but the tone it feels like is it. I'm sure that J.K. Simmons being involved like has a lot to do with this. I'm sure, but it feels like Avatar meets superheroes.
I mean, here, okay, so I can't speak authoritatively about the source. So this is a comic that was by, as you can probably guess by the trailer, Robert Kirkman, Walking Dead creator.
Yeah,
He did
yeah.
Invincible, which is rather popular, and people are really loving this story. And essentially, the gimmick of the story is you have a superhero, who has a son, and his son is kind of taking on the family business, so to speak. He's becoming a superhero, and that's kind of what you glimpse in the trailer too. And the animation and the art style looks I mean, it's as off the page as it gets, Tiki. And
Cool.
seemingly there's like a little edge of violence because again, there's blood and guts in the thing, but it's not like it does. From what I understand, unfortunately, I haven't really been able to read. I've read an issue or so. I've glimpsed at it. I haven't really read it from start to finish or anything. So I don't know anything really. I'm going into this clean.
Well, if
so
it's
far.
anything like The Walking Dead, there's like a million issues already.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of books for
Yeah, yeah,
invincible.
yeah.
That's the other thing you
I know
gotta.
how that goes with Walking Dead, Dragon. Trust me.
Sure, sure. Anyways, what I'm saying is like it does get a little bloods and gutsy, but from what I understand, it's not cynical. It's not like a cynical thing like the
uh,
Boys comic is compared to the Boys show or anything. So I don't think you have to worry about. I wouldn't worry about that, but there's going
well,
to be an
that's
edge
the
to it.
thing, Dragon.
You
That's
know?
the thing is that's kind of why I make the Avatar comparison. Is that it doesn't feel cynical in spite of the edge, and that to me is what I think of when I think of Avatar. Is like a show with very edgy tones to it and very like like kind of cutting edge storytelling, but also a show that's very uncynical. That has a lot of heart to it. And I don't know, like I said, Dragon, just give me the J.K. Simmons playing Catch with His Son in the Sky. That's like, yeah, sold. This looks good. I'm interested in this, so just give me more of that.
I mean, I'm wondering. I do know one. There's an infamous thing that happened in the Invincible run that I am curious if they're going to soften. I mean, they're probably not going to get to it in a season one, I'd imagine. I mean, unless they're really afraid of not going to get another season. There is kind of a well, there's an uncomfortable sexual assault in the book. Now it's not what you're thinking right now. It goes a rather different route. It's it's like a weird kind of Kryptonian sort of thing. It's really. But I don't think they're going to do it. Period. I'm just saying. Point being, I know there's an edge in this series. I wonder how much they're going to push the edge. But regardless, I don't think they're even going to adapt it. So I think it's fine. But we'll see.
All right.
But the point being, yeah, looking very forward to it. I wish they didn't like tease like, hey, next year. Like, why can't we say like, hey, December? Why can't we say, like, hey, maybe this year we're gonna get this amazing looking show? I don't know. Maybe let's not tee off. We're that desperate for attention. Let's anyway.
Right, so Jindy Tartakovsky has a new show, and I still need to watch Primal Dragon. It's right there on HBO Max. I need to get to it.
Yeah.
But tell me about this one, Unicorn Warriors Eternal.
Well, here's what I know. Basically, they've announced the premise and kind of like a postery sort of image. So it's any target, obviously, Unicorn, Warriors Eternal. It's going to be on HBO Max. This is information we already know. Bear with me. The unicorns. Essentially, we have unicorns as like kind of these less kind of unicorns this day and age are a little bit more kind of whammo blammo, a little bit more. There's an action, there's a mystique, there's kind of a mythological.
So they're badass unicorns, essentially.
Essentially, yes.
Like
essentially.
Badass fantasy creature unicorns.
Essentially, yes. So the idea is that we have unicorns trapped in the bodies of kind of angsty teens.
What?
That.
Oh god. Okay, I was into the badass fantasy unicorns, but then you said angsty teens, and I didn't.
Well, this is like Tartakovsky, like using like angsty. He's going to make them cool. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm just literally reading what they've kind of put out there. They say angsty teens, and you look at them, they look very disparate at this point. So these
do they look like the Rowdy Rough Boys?
Little more hard edge than that.
All right.
So point being, like you have we're in the bodies of these angsty teens from very so there's like a robot team. There's like all the point. It looks really disparate, really kind of cool. Like we're gonna explore like myth and folklore in this thing. It's the vibe I get from it is very symbiotic Titan, which I know you're not overly familiar with that, right?
Symbiotic Titan. No, I'm not overly. I know of it. I know the basic gist of it.
What I'm saying is looking at it like in an instant, just kind of making like a kind of a judgment call. It looks like that, which Symbiotic Titan was good. And that was kind of one of Tartakovsky's last fares before returning to the well with Samurai Jack. I mean, not in a negative way. I mean, hey, we return to the well. Let's get some water while we're here. Anyway, so point being, Symbiotic Titan vibes. Let's see where it goes. And hey, HBO Max, they delivered big time with Infinity Train. Let's see what else they got.
Oh my god! Oh Jesus Christ!
Come on, Tartakovsky, man, come on.
All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Oh god, Animaniacs. Okay. Well, Dragon, the trailer looks good. The trailer, like, it's fine. I don't have anything against the trailer, but that clip just is the thing that sold me.
It's the Jurassic Park.
The Jurassic Park clip. Oh my god! I'm just like, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect.
Spielberg is John Hammond.
Yes, yeah.
We have Pinky in the Brain.
I just love the subtle details that they get in that, like like Alan Grant throwing up, like put your head between your legs.
Right, well,
Just like,
fainting, because if he threw up, it'd be a little unromanticized cinematic moment, Tiki. He's not throwing up, but yeah.
well, fainting, yeah, right.
Right.
But just oh man, it just looks so just the tone is just absolutely on point. It's just like in the way that they frame it, just like the Animaniacs like coming back, man.
Boingy,
It's just like
boingy, boingy.
boingy, boingy, boingy.
So, yeah, it looks very promising. I know one thing: if they're bringing back Pinky and the Brain this show, if Freakazoid makes an appearance, I'm gonna lose it, man. I'm just gonna, my mind is gonna be all over the ceiling.
That's what I'm hoping for, Dragon. That's what I'm hoping for.
Paul Rugg. I know he's playing for the other team at the moment, but still, you know, and he's always at Disney Plus at the moment. But you know what, freelance.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
All right.
So speaking of returns,
Oh dear, Dexter. Yeah. I am actually kind of intrigued by this, Dragon. I'm not gonna lie.
so yeah, folks, the news is Dexter. No, not the animated Dexter. But get your mind off the Animaniacs of it all, and then the Tarkovsky of it all. We gotta refocus here. We're talking Dexter, as in Showtime Dexter, as in Michael C. Hall, serial killer Dexter. You got the blood gimmick. That guy. Dexter is getting I believe a 10 episode, a limited series revival on Showtime. And what the big coup d'état here, the big thing that really kind of makes us, oh, they're bringing back Dexter. It's like, oh man, they're bringing back Dexter, is that they're bringing back the original showrunner from the golden times, from the first 4 seasons, as in Clyde Phillips, the guy who left after the Trinity season. After the 4th season, he got out. He kind of turned.
Which is where I think the show just should have straight up ended. That ending with Harrison in the bathtub was too perfect and too cynical to not end the show there, in my opinion.
And as many people have noted, the ending of Dexter, well, it's a little divisive. So,
Dragon, I've said this before in a joking way, but the more that I think about it, the more that I think if they actually pulled it off, it'd be like the ultimate troll. Is like, what if they just had like a serious, like just played it completely straight, is like a drama about lumberjacks, but the serial killer thing just never gets brought up. Like it's the most it's like the Breaking Bad of lumberjack shows, Dragon. That's the thing. That's the funny thing about it, is like they actually managed to make lumberjacks like totally compelling. It's just the original gimmick of the show just isn't there.
So you joke about that. So they've said they're not gonna completely like wipe the slate clean with like the end. They're not gonna do like that retroactive thing. It never happened. The ending didn't happen. Like, no, the ending happened, but they're not gonna exactly be trapped by it. So we're gonna see what that means. It's like they've kind of joked like it's been 10 years. Like, well, wait, how long has it been 10 years?
I don't know.
Maybe 8. As of 2013 it ended. Like, I'm thinking of Breaking Bad. The point being, it's been many.
I reckon I'd have to Google it.
Well, the point being, it's been many years. So in all those years, he's killed forest of trees. Being the idea, he's been killing just trees. The thing they've joked. So we'll see. The point being, this is very exciting. We're gonna see possibly an ending done proper with the original showrunner and C. Hall. Could be a lot of fun. There was a big hanging Chad from Dexter. Father and son were not reunited.
Right.
Let's see. Kid's going to be older at this point. All right. So, lastly, little thing, we shove this off to the side. Big deal, right? Big MCU news.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, the very same from the forthcoming Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange is going to be in the next Spider-Man movie that we have still not given a title yet, but the next Spider-Man in quotes 3.
It's driving me crazy that everyone's just referring to it as Spider-Man 3 at this
point. I know,
because
I just wish everyone's like had all these home puns, which are fun, but still, why can't we just nail it down? Like, Bound, like Home Alone, all these
There's
names.
No Place Like Home.
That's the one that should be. It should be There's No Place Like Home. Anyway.
All right. So of course with Doctor Strange, I'm excited to see because anytime Doctor Strange is in the mix, I just think it just automatically adds something to it. He's such a cool character with so much weight behind him. But of course, the implementation is going to be multiverse and Spider Verse specifically. So Dragon, of course, nothing's confirmed just yet, as far as I know, outside of Jamie Foxx, oddly enough, which we talked about last month, right?
Uh, yes, we did. But again, like I think it was one of those things where they're talking with Fox. I think he said he wants to, and that I don't know. The thing is, like now we're having these big bouts of Marvel news. Like the Doctor Strange thing is confirmed, but stuff like we had a She-Hulk, and then we revealed she is not She-Hulk. So that's
Oh, right,
baffling.
right. I remember that. Yeah. So Tatiana Maslany, I thought it was a good idea, but
I mean, again,
unfortunately.
still not a bad. I think she's probably in talks to be a part in the show if I'm a betting man, but probably not for She-Hulk though, which got spun out. I'm still hoping for Stephanie Beatrice, man. Give me some Beatrice. But yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, Jamie Foxx is most likely going to be in it though in the role. It's most
And
likely.
then, of course, along with that, two big names, no big deal or anything, just Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Which, honestly, Dragon, if Andrew Garfield doesn't appear, I could honestly care less. I really like it. Like, I just don't have an attachment to him at all. But Toby, man, Toby is the big get. Like at this point, I feel like Toby is the next big thing that needs to happen with the MCU. Honestly, that's like the next like big tentpole event.
Yeah, there have been a lot of theories about old Tobey Maguire coming back as Spider-Man here, where in this case either do it via a Spider-Verse and or multiverse, or some people said Uncle Ben.
I don't like the Uncle Ben thing.
I
That would
want
be
Hank
weird.
Azaria as Uncle Ben, but I'm alone apparently.
I could. That's solid casting for me.
Anyway, but of course, with Doctor Strange in the mix, one great thing with Doctor Strange, it's both of Steve Ditko's most famous creations in a movie together. How nice is that? Doctor
Sure,
Strange and
sure.
Spider Man. That's kind of nice. But two things come to mind. Obviously, the Spider Verse. Because one thing I love with all these, it seems the vibe with the third one as well is going to be with all these MCU Spider movies. Is these Spider-Man movies are all about the aftermath of the big events in the MCU. I love that. I love how Homecoming's in the wake of Civil War, Far From Home's in the wake of Endgame, and this presumably in the
Spider-Man
wake of
3 is in the wake of COVID-19.
well, I mean,
Bum.
sure, but yeah, they make
Sorry,
life
I
of
saw
people
the
bad.
opportunity and I ran for it.
No, no, but like of WandaVision or Doctor Strange 2, depending on when it comes out. So
uh,
that's what I'm talking about. Like, in the wake of that, presumably, hence the Doctor Strange. So point you see what I'm saying? This is a really great idea that we're kind of living in this aftermath here, and these are logical things to kind of infer. Like again, Spider-Man's always dealing with the problems of the MCU, and now what do we lump on his head? Big old multiverse and Scarlet Witch going crazy. Lumping all that on his shoulders too, along with all the big problems of the end of Far From Home. We're like, oh god, he's been outed. So many people have also speculated one more day. Now, here's where I come down on the issue, Tiki. I don't think we're gonna do the. I don't think
really?
we're gonna.
One more day? What?
Well, I mean, one more day, very famously, as many people.
I know what one more day is, Dragon. Trust me.
No, no, I know that, but do you know he went to Doctor Strange to try to fix Aunt May, though?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's
See, that's what I'm saying.
interesting.
My point is, he visited Doctor Strange, and I think they're going to do that before they're
There's a
going to do
lot
the
of
thing.
other shit about one more day that, of course.
Well, that's when everyone is the worst case scenario is that Peter Parker is going to go to Doctor Strange for an easy fix, and Doctor Strange is going to be our insert for Mephisto, that basically making a deal with the devil to erase everyone's minds that hey, we forgot who Spider-Man is. I don't think it's. I think it's going to go the Aunt May direction in that. I'm not saying we're going to shoot Aunt May or anything. But what I'm saying is, I feel Spider-Man logically, he's going to go to his old pal Doctor Strange to see if he can work that one more day magic. We're going to have a nice little put down of one more day. Like, oh no, I can't do that. Spider-Man, it's impossible. Like that would
Oh
be very
man,
bad. There are going
this
to be
one more
consequences.
day shit is fucking with my brain, Dragon. There's so many implications behind one more day.
But you see what? Wouldn't that be better though? If
I
we kind of
see
had
what
like
you're saying. I
yeah.
see what you're saying. I do. I'm just my brain is having a hard time comprehending it.
I'm saying that's kind of the worst case scenario when it's kind of playing out that he basically goes to that exchange and he erases all the minds. At the point, it's either going to land on a one more day sort of thing, or it's going to land in a whole like we're in we're going to do Spider Verse via Doctor Strange and shenanigans in the next Spider-Man movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, one other thing I want to speculate: if we do the Spider Verse route, honestly, we could if things are completely untenable. If the word's out on Peter Parker, imagine this: we swapped them out, where we took Tom Holland and we replace with Miles Morales, at least for a while.
I mean, I could totally see that working. Miles Morales at this point, I honestly feel like is even bigger in pop culture right now than Peter Parker is. I mean, look at the PS5 game.
That's what I'm saying. We could introduce him with no strings attached, like full-fledged Miles Morales via Doctor Strange shenanigans, and either we just have him there with Peter Parker, or we switch him out, and then we do the whole like, how do we kill Spider-Man without killing? Well, we put him in a different universe to get away from his problems right now. It's like the Rick and Morty solution. Think about it. Like we go to a
Totally
world where
makes
they know
sense,
what
yeah.
they swap universes. They don't know who Peter Parker is in Miles Morales' universe and this universe, or vice versa. I'm saying we change it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Anyway, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Point is, Doctor Strange Spider-Man, that's going to be cool anyway. Slice. The question is how far we're going to go with it. Are we going to upset people? Are we going to make things awesome and multiverse-y? We'll see. We'll find out. Okay.
All right, so let's move on to TV. Oh boy.
Let's see what's on.
All right, so The Boys season 2. I want to make this quick because we've already done a full-blown podcast about it, but generally speaking, I thought it was overall, I think it's on the same level as season 1. I think it's overall an improvement. I feel like the character arcs for each individual character were a lot more fleshed out than they were in the first season. Of course, Homelander, Dragon, I feel like Homelander is on his way to becoming like one of the great TV villains of all time. I really do.
He's not there already? I mean, did you see that plane scene from the first season?
No, I'm just saying we need to see his entire arc play out before we put him on the pedestal. But man, he's getting there.
Yeah, The Boys season 2 for me. I mean, look, if you're on board for The Boys, as in like you go to season 2 and you're completely comfortable, you get the vibe they're going for. Anyone like just saying, I don't know about, because it is the most cynical take on superheroes you're ever going to see, kids. If you're down for that, or at least can appreciate the artfulness of that, season 2, major success in my book. I mean, Homelander and Butcher are the MVPs of the season, but as Tiki has said, the whole gang impresses. They're all impressed the same, like especially Mother's Milk was the one that jumped out to me, especially. Oh my god, I love Mother's Milk, was delightful. So yeah, I mean, it's even more insane than the first season. Finale, I feel the finale might have been better than the first season. The finale was really an utter slam dunk. I think it was.
It really was. It really was.
Stormfront was absolutely riveting too. The whole Stormfront story paid off big time. Yeah, that's it. This point being, Stormfront was
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so Carmen Sandiego, I know I need to watch this Dragon. There's something about the look of the animation that doesn't vibe right for me. I need to get past that.
So let me tell you about season 3. So a really, really short season. This is only 5 episodes.
Okay.
So like I think it's like usually it's like 10 a pop, and I think they did like the split up thing where really their season 2 is kind of like their season 1, but they kind of point that's how they're labeling it. I won't ask any questions. Okay, 10 episodes, another 10 episodes. There's your seasons, and now we're on season 3. So 15 episodes total at this point, I think. This season takes place during Halloween, which is so apropos. Like, oh my goodness, it's like it's set around Halloween. The villains love Halloween. It's great. Like they're eating candy and stuff. It's great. Yeah, I don't know if they're honestly. I think the reason we got 5 episodes, I think they're doing like I don't know if they did like a splitting thing, or maybe the virus had a hand in it. I don't know. We're like, I think maybe it was supposed to be 10 episodes, and maybe the 4th season's going to be another 5. Maybe that's how it's going to go. I don't know. I didn't mind the shorter run though. I mean, it was kind of a tighter arc. Good stuff there. Carmen Sandiego just continues to be what I keep saying is it's kind of next generation Kim Possible potential. It could absolutely be the next Kim Possible. It's a lot of good. I don't say that lightly. It's really good stuff. It honors the brand. It's very educational. The animation I think is great. There's an arc for kind of your Inspector Clouseau character with Chase Deveneaux. He really has an arc this 5 episodes, which is impressive. It's clever. It's informative. I think it's the perfect thing to show kids and show everyone. Honestly, this is the thing everyone can watch, and absolutely the thing you want. Of all the things we're putting in front of our kids while we're doing stuff at this time, Carmen Sandiego is absolutely the thing that should be put on for kids. Let's educate them and entertain them. Why not?
All right. Okay, so I got around to seeing the Owl House season 1, and me and Claude are going to do a recap on it soon. We're just going to have to schedule it out. Hey, Pink Pearl, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. So the Owl House Dragon, it's got a really, it's got a really good premise to it, a really good hook. I gotta say that the real hook to it is the two lead characters. I've got to look up the voice actress, but she's a really kind of a veteran character actress. You're gonna know her as soon as you see her. But uh, Dragon, my thing with this show is kind of like honestly the reason I was a little bit hesitant to get into it to begin with, and it kind of came to fruition here watching it. This show really does feel like just kind of a combination of Star vs. Forces of Evil with a little bit of Gravity Falls, and so it's got more Star vs. Forces of Evil than Gravity Falls, and that worries me. Just considering Star vs. Forces of Evil is a show where the first three seasons, reckon, especially the Michael C. Hall character in that show. Michael C. Hall plays a really damn good villain in that show. But I don't know, man. There's just something about the high school, like, because I feel like this show's got a great premise where the this really imaginative like trouble child middle schooler kind of finds herself in this weird fantasy world that's kind of like an alternate universe, kind of like almost like a Rick and Morty style, like weird sort of. It's hard to pin down the world building. It's the world building in the show is not one of my favorite elements of it, but my favorite element of it is the owl lady, and she is voiced by Wendy Malick.
Oh, Wendy Malick.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah. And
Yeah,
Dragon,
no
oh my
fair.
god, oh god. Wendy Malick is the reason to watch this show.
I loved Wendy Malick in Fillmore in terms of her voice acting for Disney. Man, I loved her in that.
She is fantastic. She is absolutely the best character on this show. I would kind of the best way to describe her character is it is kind of like a female version of Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls. But she's just kind of like this swindling sort of con artist witch who has powers. She's basically the main character wants to be a witch, and she's just called the Owl Lady is her character. She wants the Owl Lady to teach her to be a witch, and of course, the Owl Lady, she's kind of taking advantage of the situation, Dragon. She's kind of like, well, I will train you, but I'm going to get some stuff out of it too. I'm gonna, you're going to help me along the way, and so it's kind of like an uneven partnership, basically. So the Owl Lady's got a lot of interesting motivations throughout the show. I don't know. I actually intend on rewatching it before the podcast with Claude because I feel like my initial watch I just kind of was getting a lot of Star vibes. So overall, I'm not really too into it so far, but I want to give it a chance. I know Claude is super into it. I know the internet loves it a lot. Like I said, the real building just doesn't really. I'm just worried for another Star vs. Force of Evil, Dragon. I need to get that Star vs. Force of Evil thing out of my head because Star is a show where it started out so promising and then it just went really downhill. It went really downhill in the last couple seasons. And this is a show where it's like it's starting out like I love the Wendy Malick character. Like I said, she's absolutely the thing that I am gravitating to with this show for sure. And the main character is likable enough. But I don't know. I there's not a lot for me to grasp onto just yet. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. And I am willing to give it a second watch. So, all right.
All right, next would be Lovecraft Country.
Well, somebody finally got access to HBO Max.
Well, no, it's also on HBO, but
Oh, fair enough.
yeah, but no, actually, I did. I found a loophole within the HBO Max. Again, I want to be clear though; it's still not on the X1, but I found a way.
Right.
Still not happy with that.
I need to see the show, dude. This show has so much hype behind it. My favorite TV podcasters are covering it, which definitely like gives me. They're the people that discovered that I discovered Mr. Robot and The Leftovers through. So I kind of like follow them to the ends of the earth when it comes to TV. So it's only a matter of time before I check this one out, Dragon.
So I watched Lovecraft Country because Mark Bernardin recommended it very highly, and he kind of sold it as like a chaser to the HBO Watchmen.
Uh huh.
So yeah, it looks like this show kind of suggests like HBO is starting this trend of a really a relevant show centering around African American horrors. It's kind of what
Right. Well, hey, I
like
mean, Jordan Peele's really big right now. I mean,
I know
it
that's what I'm
is.
saying too. Like he probably started in the grand sense of things with
Oh,
Get Out,
Jordan
but
Peele absolutely started it. Yeah.
and well, also it's so funny you mentioned. I mean, Jordan Peele and JJ. This is kind of what happens when you mix in Jordan Peele, who's one of the producers, as well as the other
Uh,
producer, JJ Abrams. When you mix these two together, you get love H.P. Lovecraft tackling '50s racism. That's what you get.
right, right.
That's what this is. It's kind of set during like it's set in like the Jim Crow South, I believe. It's kind of the Jim Crow '50s era. You know, kind of the Green Book era, essentially. You know, some of the things were kind of like a little, maybe a little before Green Book. Because we start off like on a road trip, so we bring in the actual kind of Green Book stuff there. So that's kind of anyway. So yeah, all the big thing I was really sold on. I kind of gave it like definitely the first episode is available on YouTube. That's kind of how I kind of first watched it before I kind of ended up just kind of going to HBO and everything. The opening scene is one of the most spectacular things you're ever going to see, Tegan. Did you watch the first one, or did you
I
start just
did
not?
watch the first episode, so I know what you're talking about.
Exactly, this whole Jackie Robinson opening,
Uh-huh.
which Tiki has a phenomenal payoff to the Jackie Robinson thing. I don't want to tell you, but just trust me. There's a payoff that you won't. It's going to leave you gobsmacked,
All right.
like one of those Watchmen payoffs. Anyway, so yeah, this is what they've done here is really clever. Ultimately, what the show is, without giving away any spoilers, is that it's a meta adaptation of Lovecraft, where basically it's kind of an in-universe telling of the Lovecraft tales,
And
which
you
is
know
quite
what's really
clever.
interesting? Do they touch on the fact that Lovecraft was kind of a piece of shit himself?
I mean, I think tonally they're kind of doing it with all the events, Teak. I don't think like Lovecraft himself. I don't think. I think there's like a line or two when they actually name drop him and like
Okay, okay.
mention that. I think, but otherwise you kind of feel within the events of the show. It's kind of there, but again, I don't want to give away. But there's like a thing where essentially like events from Lovecraft are actualized through the because they're kind of adapting two Lovecraft novels in the show, but they kind of touch on a whole bunch of other Lovecraft stuff. Now, bear in mind, folks, I know nothing about Lovecraft. All I know is the Cthulhu monster. It's all I really know.
That's really all I know too.
I mean, I know that. I know the name Arkham comes from Lovecraft. Arkham Asylum comes from H.P. Lovecraft. That's on one hand I can count all I know about Lovecraft. So
Right, right.
but the point is, like, it's like really like kind of like true blue, like Lovecraftian, like scary horror stuff. That's pretty much what you get here. So this is about the. So for me personally, the horror of it all, not quite for me, but I can respect though. Again, that's the thing. I can
Mm,
respect like the artistry, and again how it complements the story. It complements the story really well. It's a little too gruesome for my taste. The episodes I'd say are the best ones out of there's 10 episodes total. Episodes 5, 9, and the pilot are my favorites. I think they're the most impressive. Like narratively, they're just astonishing. Nine's the one that's the Watchmen episode. Episode 5 is that's a genius episode. It's so good. I don't want to spoil it. The pilot again, as I said, that opening and just kind of like the whole there's kind of this ticking clock in the episode 1
mhm.
where our characters have to get across state lines before sunset, and it's the most tense scene one of the most tense scenes you're gonna see ever. Because again, it's basically like the racist cops. They kind of stop and they say like, "Hey,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, they know that." But anyway, so the point being, folks, each episode has like a supernatural sci-fi twist. Jonathan Majors he's our lead as Tick. He's great. To talk of him being in Ant-Man 3, which could be really exciting. A couple episodes didn't win me. There's one episode called Jigaboo, which kind of lost me, but it kind of bought itself back after that with episode 9. So that's how it goes. So on the whole, Lovecraft Country, it's good. It talks if it's going to get a season 2 or not. I'd be shocked if it didn't get a season 2, given the it's not a Lindelof sort of thing, but we'll see. I don't think there's going to be much equation like, oh, should we do another one? Why wouldn't you do another one? People loved it. So
Is
it
it
was good
based on a
stuff.
book or anything? Do you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's based off 2 of the Lovecraft novels, and then it kind of takes a little bit from the whole like litany
Oh,
of
so
them.
it's like doing its own thing then.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there's like 2 like it's kind of I think it's straightforward adaptation of 2 novels. Then there's a little bit of everything in the rest of them.
Uh-huh. All right.
So yeah, I think you'd really take it. I think you'd love this. I think
Oh,
you'd
I
love
think
it.
I would too. I really do.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I believe you.
it's good stuff. I mean, maybe not exactly for me. I don't know if I do season 2, but I think it's really good stuff.
Mhm. All right, so yeah, I got around to the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. I don't have much to say about this one, Dragon. All I can say is comfort food. comfort food when you're in a bad mood and you need something to pick you up and you don't need to think too much about it. Look, it's just very pleasant cast members interacting with cute animals for an hour to a half hour at a time. I mean, that's what this show is, Dragon. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't get into the minutia of like, dealing with animals in a theme park environment as much as I would like it to. That was really kind of like the main potential hook for me in terms of like being a documentary. But what it lacks in that, it definitely just makes up for, and just like cute animals, and this cast member is just so nice, and they have such a nice bond with this cheetah cub or what the hell ever. It's just a nice show, Dragon. It really is. It's a good pick me up.
Pink Pearl, I've got some comments here. One, she's upset. She doesn't have Hulu to watch new Animaniacs, which my sympathies, dear child, my sympathies.
All right, Pink Pearl, I might hit you up. I might hit you up, and maybe we can talk. Maybe I might be able to help you out there.
And yes, Pink Pearl bring up the whole Jigaboo thing, which I mean, yeah, honestly, that's the thing. The episode's really uncomfortable. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. They kind of take the. I guess it's really as a put down, really insensitive. I suppose. Basically, it's like kind of like demonic. I guess just given the episode, I'm inferring here. It's kind of like a demonic African American kind of terminology. I suppose it's kind of really that's. And the episode is really unsettling and really kind of like Annabelle or Insidious sort of horror like stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, so I was just addressing that. Okay, so so the animal. Would you So does it touch on the animal kingdom at all, or just like the cast members interacting with the animals?
I mean, it touches on Animal Kingdom, but not as much as I would like it to, because I think there's a lot of like really interesting things you could touch on there. But to me, Dragon, the most fascinating thing about Animal Kingdom as a park is the fact that it's like this. They basically built a full like 100-acre savanna in the middle of Florida, and that is like really more of an Imagineering thing than an animal thing. And they do touch on, it's more backstage than anything else. So
Gotcha.
I mean, they focus on it, but like I said, it's more of just like kind of like a feel good, like look at the cute animals and the pleasant cast members. There's really not much to the show beyond that.
Okay. So I should take us to The Vow then.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Vow season 1. Surprised, just a surprised. I kind of was surprised towards the end of it. Oh my god, they're doing another season. That was kind of news, but it kind of wasn't. Like, okay, they're doing a second season. So are you familiar with The Vow at all?
Never heard of it, honestly.
Okay, so Joshua Thomas recommended this to me.
Okay.
So this is about. Do you remember the whole Allison Mack thing a while back?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Okay, well, just long story short, Allison Mack, she was implicated as kind of like part of this kind of sex trafficking cult.
The Smallville actress.
Yeah, Smallville. Yeah, Allison Mack.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the story behind that. This is now she's not the main. She was a big accomplice, but she wasn't like the head cheese. It's about the whole thing of it all. So it's called Nexium. So basically, this whole cult thing was under this brand called Nexium, and it was led by this guy called Keith Raniere. So essentially, it's the backstory of what led to all that news.
This is a docuseries.
It's a docu-series on HBO. So I mean, it's definitely on Max. Basically, Nexium is kind of like Scientology meets a cult. That's essentially what the whole shtick is. Where the whole group is about self-improvement. So that's the way a docuseries kind of works. The first episode kind of gives you the whole sales pitch, and for a moment you're kind of sold on it. Like, okay, I guess that's kind of something. Where it's about like, hey, like you don't have to feel bad all the time. If you just focus, it's about the whole like self-improvement from within sort of stuff.
Dragon, you know what I found out recently? That's kind of a cult like that, like a self-improvement cult.
What?
And we're very familiar with the brand because of a certain show.
Oh God.
Lululemon. Lululemon tracksuit. Lululemon tracksuit. By the way, Dragon, any news on Barry season 3? Have you heard anything about that at all?
sorry, the Lululemon thing just still got me. All right.
No, I'm genuinely curious. Like,
well, I mean, there haven't been any. Since the whole thing broke out, there's been no word on it. Really, it's just been we know it was approved for a season 3. It's just no word on how. I wonder how far they. I haven't looked at how far they got in shooting that.
All right. Anyway.
If anything, it would be if they did shoot anything, it'd be coming next year. I know that much, but I can't really, see. Anyway, sorry. Back to.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Pink Pearl's comment. I got Alex Mack mixed up with Allison Mack. I remember Alex Mack. He was I believe he was a Sega Genesis character, right? Anyways.
Okay, so the whole premise of the show is one of the followers of Ranieri and the Nexium guys was this guy named Mark Vicente, nice guy, who again, like the average Joe, he was misled by he was kind of misled. And he felt terrible about it. He was kind of the kind of documentarian because Ranieri. Here's the cool thing about the whole why we have a docuseries. He recorded everything like crazy. So there's like gobs and gobs of footage of this guy doing the most, talking to everybody and going about his whole shtick and like the beliefs of the cult essentially. And so Vicente, he's basically kind of leading the charge and trying to take Ranieri down, which in real life essentially happens. So season 1 is kind of the lead up to season 2 being the trial. So that's kind of the build. I didn't know that going into until towards the end. They announced, hey, we got approved for season 2, and season 2 is basically knowing that it's going to end on a cliffhanger. So. There is going to be a season 2. I hear that Starz is competing with them with a documentary about the stuff they apparently this is fascinating.
Oh shit! So we've got like a Fire Fest thing going on.
Exactly. That yes, it's exactly. But here's the thing. So apparently, I don't know if this is. I assume the plan is to reveal this in season 2 with the trial, but Starz is trying to beat him to the punch. Where I don't know if this documentary is up yet or not. I heard it might be. I heard people talking about it, like they watched it, so I assume it's up now. But they've announced it that there was a secret flash drive full of all the really bad stuff that Keith Raniere did. And they don't really talk about all the really bad stuff he did. So apparently that Starz documentary is all about the really bad stuff. So that's going to be interesting to watch if I can somehow get track that down. But that's what I'm saying. That's going to be. But yeah, here's the thing. The only issue I have with the docuseries that we have on HBO is that after episodes 1 through 3 are really the high points, and I think it's 9 episodes. I think there are peaks and valleys of interest in it. Tiki, it's like it gets interesting by the end. I just feel there's some peaks and valleys. Episode 3 is the big one you got to get to, though. That's the one about the brandings.
Okay.
So, point being, the vow, it's interesting, and it wasn't it was maybe a little overhyped by Joshua Thomas, but again, he didn't finish it, though. None of us finished it. Like, he was at the episode 3 mark, which we all were, which is impressive, so I get why he recommended it. But, yeah, it's interesting. So it's worth a look, at least for the first 3, and then definitely look at the Starz thing, I guess. Okay.
Alrighty, and then finally...
Oh, it's back to me again. Okay.
Yeah.
The Cabin with Bert Kreischer.
All right, you said this was very risque, right?
Yeah, it's very risque. More risque than I should have expected it was going to be. But, so yeah, I recently, because of the Joe Rogan podcast a while back, Joe Rogan Experience, I was introduced to Bert Kreischer, and I watched his stand-up, and the guy is really funny. He's like one of those, I love a storytelling comedian. That's what this guy is. He's very much, this guy was a very famous party animal. Like, he was like Animal House as one guy. That's essentially who this guy was. And he became a family man. So that's kind of what his comedy is these days. It's kind of party animal to family man, kind of the balance of the two. So Kreischer, this whole series, it's like kind of like an interview show, but it's an unconventional interview show. Its premise is Bert Kreischer, who goes on the road a lot. His wife, at the behest of his loving wife, so like take a relaxing getaway. You got to focus. Be good to yourself health wise. Like relax, get away from all the shows and the pressure you put on yourself. And what does he do? He turns the relaxing getaway to like a cabin in the woods. It's like a spa cabin or something, into a new show where he can invite his celebrity friends and comedian pals and kind of talk with them about relaxation and balancing life and stuff like that. So the Kreischer's good. I just it's a little too much. I see a little too much Kreischer nudity in the show for my taste personally, but he's this whole shit. He's the shirtless comedian on stage. Kind of drops trowel a little too much. Yeah, they have like some fun guest stars like Kaylee Cuoco, Harley Quinn. She's in this. She pops up in this. Joe McHale. Anthony Anderson. Yeah, it's some good stuff. Not really right home. That's okay. You know, if you can get past like the too much Kreischer for the eyes to bear, it's okay.
All right. Okay, Dragon, really quick. Claude wants us to bring up the Tiny Toons reboot.
Ah, yes, the time. So yes, where is this going to be exactly? Is this going to be
I
on
believe
Hulu?
it's going to be on Cartoon Network, actually, from what I heard. But Claude, maybe you could correct me.
I want to say Hulu, but I honestly could be wrong. I don't know.
I mean, you would think Hulu because that's where Animaniacs is going, but
True.
anyways, so yeah, Tiny Toons in college. Honestly, I am not like the thing that appeals to me about Animaniacs is it feels like with Animaniacs they're just kind of like it's been like 20 years, but they're just kind of like starting right where they left off. You know, it's like it doesn't miss a beat. It feels exactly like the same show.
Wait, so we know it's like college, like the Tiny Toons in
Yeah, yeah,
college.
yeah, yeah.
Huh. I
So
don't really feel about that.
what worries me about Tiny Toons in college is that it's just not gonna resonate the same way.
Those characters older does not fill me with confidence.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The thing is, it's all about that's the whole gimmick. They're Tiny Toons. They can't be Tiny Toons if I mean I know it's simple, but think about it. It just kind of defeats.
Like to me, it kind of just like it's. I don't know. I still have like relatively bad memories of All Grown Up.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is this does not bode as well as Animaniacs. It still makes me want to see Freakazoid,
No.
but still, this I don't know how I feel about this.
I mean, I'll still check
Oh wait,
out at least the first couple episodes just to see how it is. But I don't know.
the Claude says HBO Max, but it basically HBO Max and Cartoon Network, which makes
Okay.
sense given the Warner Brothers involvement with the no-brainer. Yeah, of course it's HBO Max. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Claude, the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. Tell me about this. I know you sent me a trailer, but is it basically just like more shorts, or is it going to be like longer form shorts in the same style, or what? Because because the thing about the Mickey Mouse shorts, Dragon, is that I love them to death. I love the style of them. I think they've got really, really great humor. I absolutely love the little Disney Easter eggs. I think the Mickey Mouse shorts right now have some of the best Disney Easter eggs they've ever done. But there's just so many of them; it's hard to keep track of.
You mean the recent ones, like we're
Yeah,
using
the
like the
recent
old school
ones.
looking, like kind of almost Steamboat Willie ish
Right,
Mickey
right,
Mouse.
right. Yeah, the one that Runaway Railway is based off of.
Right. The one that like just got rid of the great movie, right? Of course, yeah.
It's a good ride.
Sure. Just anyway.
I'm one of those people where it's like I wish I had a chance to go on the Great Movie Ride, but the Great Movie Ride was dated.
How dare you?
It was dated.
The whole point, though, it's supposed to be dated.
I'm just saying they could have at least freshened up some of those scenes. Oh, it's an original series. Okay, interesting. I don't know how they're gonna do that. Yeah, they also Pink Pearl also points out they have to replace Minnie's voice actress.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I think it's going to be new shorts though. Okay. Interesting. Well, at the very least, it'll be more easy to keep track of it because I got to tell you, on YouTube, it's impossible to keep track of all the stuff they've uploaded to YouTube. Okay, Dragon. Anyways, moving on. October 2020 movies. Here we go. All right, we're going to start with probably the big banner movie of the month for both of us, I would guess. The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah.
All right, so this is really Aaron Sorkin at his best, Dragon. It really is. I right from the first scene where Sorkin is just basically showing off. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm gonna write dialogue so compelling, and the characters are just literally going to finish each other's sentences. I think this movie. There's a couple things about it that I wish could have been ironed out. I think that it takes a little bit longer than it needs to land on the central conflict of Eddie Redmayne versus Sacha Baron Cohen's character. Like, I really think we should have set that up from the very get-go. I think some of the setup is a little bit awkward. Like, we need to set up Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, and I like his character, but I feel like his setup scene is, like, a little out of place with the rest of the movie, because it almost kind of, like, frames him as the main character, but then we go to the Chicago 7, like, we go to Redmayne and Sacha Baron Cohen is the characters are a little all over the place in this movie. But I mean, just generally speaking, I think that Sorkin just does a great job. It's obviously like it's Sorkin, so you know it's going to be a great script. Just razor sharp dialogue, traditional trademark Sorkin hallway walk and talks. I love the framing device where it's like we're getting the three perspectives. We're getting the flashback, we're getting the core, and we're also getting Abby's telling of the events.
Yeah, of course, Abby Hoffman becomes very important by the end, given kind of grand sequence.
Mm-hmm. I think the cast absolutely shines in this movie. Of course, Redmayne, Sacha Baron Cohen, Dr. Manhattan Dragon. I don't want to try and pronounce his name because it's kind of a complicated name.
Okay, you mean, well, Yahya is the simple T. Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Yeah. Who honestly is probably the most compelling part of the whole movie, his storyline. And then Frank Langella. Let's talk about Frank Langella.
Tiki and I have a great fondness and appreciation for the wonderful actor that is Frank Langella. We love him, don't we? We love him. So I mean, yeah, look, certainly this movie, it's fantastic. An all-star cast. I mean, Rylance, John Carroll Lynch.
Oh, I almost forgot about Rylance. Yeah. Oh my God, Rylance is one of the best in the movie.
But Jesus. And John Carroll Lynch. I mean, he had me practically in tears and play. Oh no. No, don't punch the guy, John. No.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's an excellent cast, very wonderful, eclectic bunch. I mean, Jeremy Strong's unrecognizable in this film too. He
absolutely,
kind of the bearded friend of Abby Hoffman. His name escapes me at the moment. But yeah, basically, this is about one of the most historically mishandled trials. One of the. About the quote unquote leaders of the riot that erupted and kind of protest the Vietnam War back in '68. So this, Langella just as this kind of in basically if he's not an inept judge, he's like a judge kind of at the end of his run. He's put on a really complicated case with like seven, technically 8 people.
I think Langella is just straight up one of the best villains of the year, Dragon.
He is in the Antigua yet again because politics are on people's minds. We're going to take our mind off the real world sucky politics. We're going to take the good old fashioned movie politics. Frank Langella, he's so good in Dave is the bad guy. He's really good. Anyway, but yeah, it's I love the fact that he's basically a judge in over his head. And speaking of Dr. Manhattan, as you did, yeah. Also, Black Manta for the kids out there. Same, Black Manta from Aquaman. Awesome. We take this running gag. It's kind of like a dark running gag throughout the whole thing, where he says, the whole Chicago 8 versus the 7, which was a real life thing. Because there are 8 people at the table. Isn't the Chicago 8? No, he's not represented by them. And I love that we kind of made that initially a running gag to ultimately with the story of this character, just a horrible, weren't you gobsmacked during that payoff with Yahya?
Yeah.
Bobby Seale, what happened to that poor man is throughout the whole thing. Like, he has no lawyer. I've never seen a civil injustice like this. And of course, it's all real kids. The fact that he was there without a lawyer, I mean, that's such a miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, it was. There's definitely moments in this movie that really, it was one of those movies where I had to like look it up halfway through. Like, wait a minute, how much of this actually happened? And most of it did.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, with a framing device too. Like, we have like stuff like the stand-up, as you mentioned, and also the tape. The tape kind of being the big missing piece of the puzzle that we kind of build up.
Oh man, that's a great bit of Sorkin writing right there. Oh man.
Yeah, Sorkin. Again, this is the second movie he's directed. He's fantastic in The Chair, man.
You know what? He's solid in The Chair. I think that, and I think he obviously needs to flex his muscles, but I honestly feel like this movie could have used a Danny Boyle or something like that to really make it sing, because it's solid directing, but I think that the material here is so strong that if this movie would have been a little bit more stylistic, a little bit more kind of like jumping out at you, I feel like it could have gone down as a classic in the same way we look at something like A Few Good Men or The Social Network. And right now, I would put this movie a rung below those two.
Well, let me put it to you this way, Tig. I can agree with you to a point about your Joseph Gordon-Levitt thing, where again we do spend time setting up a character who's not really our character. I mean, I think you could maybe make an argument that again it's still about the misdirect. If you go into this movie, you think, okay, we're following this guy. Oh my God, no! It's obviously it's the Chicago Seven, not the lawyers. It's the guys. But I mean, that's one. I do like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the prosecutor with the conscience. I like kind
This
of
is the
his arc.
first
It's
time
kind
we've
of a,
seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt in something major in a while, and it's really nice to see him.
yeah. It's always I don't know why. Don't you feel good just like seeing good old JG? Like, hey,
It,
there he
it, it
is.
really is. It really is
This is gonna
directing.
sound It's not really small, really
Oh God.
spare, but I really like him with daughters. I don't know why. He's like, oh, isn't that kind of nice? He's taking his daughters out on the town around the holidays. It's kind of nice.
Right, right,
But
right.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Structurally, I think it popped out enough. Teak. I mean, again, I think we're jazzing it up, and again, think about how intricate a plot with 7 characters, technically 8. You know, there's
I
a lot.
mean, to be fair, two of them they basically just like have a couple lines. It's like, yeah, we're here too. We're supporting our friends.
Yeah, that's fair. But still, I'm gonna say even if you took out like some of that, then you have like the lawyers in place of those guys. That's what I'm saying. It's still like a
That's true.
roughly
The
7.
lawyer, yeah, it is a very complex cast.
So
Yeah.
roughly, any way you slice it, it's roughly at least 7. Okay. But that's what I'm saying. I feel like the courtroom drama these days is getting more and more difficult to sell because it's been done to death. So many, especially on daytime television with the procedural tiki, like doing a compelling courtroom dramas, let alone in a movie. Again, this is why Better Call Saul avoids the courtroom itself because
Oh,
it's been done to death. And I got to tell you, this is how you make a courtroom drama interesting again by doing it in such an intricate and kind of like, kind of an investing way. I mean, again, I haven't been this interested recently since I watched Marshall for the first time, like last month. I watched the Chadwick Boseman movie Marshall. I mean, it's good stuff.
yeah, yeah. All
But I
right.
really liked it. Yeah.
I think it's one of the best of the year. I'm not going to say it's the best of the year.
In a
Oh,
slow
we have
year
to
to
talk
be
about
fair.
what do you think of the ending?
I mean, it wasn't gonna be, wasn't exactly supposed to be a happy ending, so I think it was fair.
Dragon, people have been tearing the ending apart.
Why? I mean, that's what happened, though.
No, no, it wasn't.
Wait, what? Well, I mean, essentially, okay, wait, did he not? Did the names not come into play?
The names were read at one point in the trial, and the
Yeah.
judge shut that shit down like after a few names, and it wasn't like and it wasn't the like basically the whole end of the Redmayne arc where it's like like Redmayne finally has a chance to speak up, and he does it. That's all completely fabricated.
Okay, so so him like his whole arc about the whole like losing the nerve to read the names and ultimately, so that's all bunk.
It's all. I mean, they were
The
Dragon.
names
They
were
were
read, but not necessarily by that guy, maybe.
right, right, right. Actually, they were read by the John Carroll Lynch guy.
I see. Well, that's
So,
probably they wanted to give that guy an arc. That's why, because we gave John Carroll the big punch bit. That's what we did.
so I don't know. In that way, I just feel like Franklin Jella almost kind of like he was so subtle and creepy throughout most of the movie, and then at the end, it's just like just over the top, like stop this nonsense in the court, stop it, bang, 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 my
Someone took his
gavel.
power away, though. It's like, and everyone knows this guy's out of it, off his gourd, out of it, off his rocker. I mean, we might as well just let our guys speak. I think
Look,
there's
I
been.
don't think it ruins the movie by any means, like some people do. Some people really, really cut this movie down because of the ending. And you know me, Dragon. You know me. I'm a big critic of a bad ending, and I don't think this is a bad ending. That being said, I think maybe it's definitely fabricated Sorkin, sugary kind of like melodrama. It really is.
Well, look, I'm usually a defender of the biopics taking the liberties because, again, especially in a courtroom drama, again, so many times that's the one of the worst positions you can be in, where every courtroom drama usually is going to end on the courthouse steps if it goes good. Like
I
we
will say
did
I
it.
do think it's a smart call that the movie just like like jumped over the verdict
Yeah,
because we knew what the verdict was going to be. The
that's
whole
what I'm saying. I love that. That's what I'm saying. I'm in defense of how things are going to work out here because I think we took something that at least was there and that the names were read. I mean, oh yes, it was shut down, yes, but we've seen this is a very mishandled trial. I think there's some liberty there. It's like let's say something went right. Let's just say one thing went right morally, just so we can end on somewhat of a poignant note. I'll give it. I'll cut it some slack. I think it plays. I think
All
it
right.
plays.
And one other note I have, the whole time I was watching it, I was super distracted by the fact that I thought that Eddie Redmayne's character should have been played by Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, come.
I no, I'm serious. It's like the perfect Eisenberg role. I don't know. Like Redmayne's fine. It's weird that you have someone like Eisenberg who's like right there, willing to go. He's worked with Sorkin before. I'm sure he'd love to work with Sorkin again. And you cast Redmayne. I don't know. I like Redmayne's fine. I've just never been the biggest fan of his. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Anyway,
all right. So next up we have Over the Moon.
one
Only
of these
thing to
days.
do is jump over the moon.
Yeah, we were both doing two different things there.
Yes, we
Sorry.
were. Yes, we were.
One of these days, Tiki. One of these days.
Oh God. So Dragon, this is an interesting little movie. Of course, directed by Glenn Keane. It's nice to see Netflix doing original animation. I will say, Dragon, this is no Klaus.
Well, of course, nothing can be class, Tiki. Come on.
I know, I know. I think this is better than Pearl's first animated movie, which is Abominable, which I really didn't like at all. Dragon, here's my issue with this movie. It's very stylized. It's like the animation's great. I love the voice acting. Uh, and yes, like Pink Pearl says, it tackles a deep subject. It tackles it well. Absolutely, can't deny that. But Dragon, I just feel like the influences of this movie are like all the hell over the place. Like you've got some Coco. Honestly, there's some parts that remind me of Wonder Park, which I won't take against it. But Wonder Park has the same sort of element of the kid escaping to a fantasy world. Like to help a dying parent. It's not the exact same premise, but it's a similar premise. And I don't know. I felt like this movie maybe had too many cute sidekick animals. I feel like that was maybe a Glenn Keane thing that he sort of like like of course the Disney Renaissance known for their cute sidekicks, and I think this movie maybe had one too many of them. The songs range from good to okay, but I don't really think there was any one song that was like a standout like banger. So overall, I like this movie. I didn't love it, but definitely, I like the fact that Pink Pearl loved it and it spoke to her on a very, very deep level because I just don't necessarily think I was a target demographic for this.
Right. I really like this, man. I dug this. Glenn Keane making his feature directorial debut, which is also pretty big. I mean, he did the short, which I believe he won the. He did Basketball Love, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. He won the Oscar for that. Yeah.
Good for him. I gotta tell you, I was just really. This is gonna sound all corny as all get out, but I was so proud of him when I was watching. It's like, good on you, Glenn. Good on you, Glenn. Because seriously, I thought I was looking at this. I was really sold. I was sold movie really early on. Sold. The movie is sold as like just looking at the posters, kind of looking at the trailer, and before you really watch the movie, you're kind of looking at it as like, okay, we're exploring Chinese lore and kind of fantasy of going to the moon. Oh, isn't this going to be fun? Sure, it's going to be fine. But really, it's a film about dealing with loss through escapism, which, I mean, shades of Up for sure, which is that's not a bad thing. I mean, I
Shades of Up, Shades of Coco, like I said, Shades of Wonder Park, unfortunately.
anyway, but yeah, I mean, I like that. I love the subtlety in the animation, of the visual storytelling. The bit that just that dazzles me so much more, I was like really dialed into the movie, was really early on when we're kind of going through the motions, and we're seeing kind of the slice of life, and after the passing, after we kind of take the old Disney trope, but we actually do something with it. With the old, we killed off the mom, killed her off. Um, when we introduce the new woman in her father's life, the hand touch and just putting the pieces together visually. That was my favorite part. That's when it's like, oh god, it's so great. Look, like she can knows what's happening here before it's even said, before it's even mentioned, before it's even uttered. I don't know. I thought it was brilliant on many levels, and it's like we had a lot of touches like that through the movie. The essentially, I believe it's Chonga.
Yeah.
Chonga basically being kind of the moon goddess. She's kind of the mother figure who, think about it, her whole thing's about immortality on the moon. She's the mother figure who never dies. I thought that was genius. Like, oh my god, that's what she's in pursuit of. That's great. The figure that her mother kind of imparted upon her. That's what she's chasing through the movie. I mean, I like this Fei Fei character. I mean, it's a lot of things worked for me. I love the rabbit and kind of the the rabbity homemade spaceship was. I love like the building of the maglev technology. A lot of great stuff there. Just like kind of fun layers, like Chang'e kind of spelled out is change, and that's essentially what she needs to do. She needs to change. She needs to kind of embrace it. Kind of move on from the loss. Ultimately it's like a what if, what if we lingered on the loss of the mother Disney trope and did something with it. And I think it was a major win for Netflix animation again. True, no Klaus, no Klaus at all. Let's make no mistake there. But still, so far this year, I mean, one of their big winners, I'd say, in terms of the animated features.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I did not know this. The writer of this movie was suffering from cancer and wrote this movie for her husband and daughters, and she's now unfortunately passed away.
Oh my
So
goodness, that's what I'm saying, man. There's something
yeah,
special
so
about this thing.
honestly, that gives this movie a shit ton more resonance for me. I gotta say that right there, like, because I'm sitting here being like, oh, it feels more like Coco, and
Now, the only knock I have against the movie personally for me is the Chin, the kid. He took a while for him to grow on me. Like the whole
yeah, he was a big problem for me too, Dragon. He was very much like, oh, look, it's Russell.
Okay, that one, yeah, that was the unfortunate Up kind of side of things. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, why do we got it? The point being, like the whole one, he just pops up in the ship and like, oh man, you prick, you're gonna throw us off course and everything. What are you doing?
I felt that, Dragon, and that's why I can't say that I loved the movie. Honestly, is
But
that
no,
just
he did grow on me though, so I can't be. That's anything. It was a little bumpy getting there though. That's what I'm saying. The bump, like the whole. Let me put it this way. I think the payoff with this kid, the whole running through walls thing was silly. We didn't need that. The whole why does he think he has power and he can run through walls? Just for the
right?
one bit. That whole run, like the whole run through the wall depression, it was kind of silly. It's like, yeah, come on, guys. But otherwise, I'm very high on the movie. I did enjoy the whole.
All right.
The very least, it looks beautiful, right? I mean, doesn't the animation look fantastic?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so the witches. Man, I did not vibe with this one. How do
Really?
you feel?
Okay, so of course, for the kids out there, this is not the original Witches. This is the
No.
brand spanking new one. This is these. Did you ever see the original?
Yes, I have. I have fond memories of it, so maybe that's why I'm not vibing with this one.
So this is Zemeckis' take on the Witches. Del Toro actually had a co-writing credit on this. As you
Fucking
Piggy,
okay, Del Toro just does everything. I'm sick of
well,
hearing his name. All right, you know what? Like,
I was gonna aid in your favor here, but if you want to just keep going.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that big surprise, Tiki. Guess what happened? Del Toro wanted to direct this as a stop motion movie, but
Man, I'm so sick of it. It's not even funny anymore, dude. It's not even funny. All right. Anyways,
Anyway, so
He
I'm
should
not
just
as
stop
bitter
committing
about
to
the.
projects, man. That's all I'm saying. He should just do one thing at a time. It's fucking ridiculous. I love the man. I love him, but it's frustrating.
I'm less
Anyways,
peeved about that than he is, but let me continue here. So the Witch is on my radar. Period. I saw like the trailer for this, and it's like, hey, Zemeckis is doing a movie. Like, oh my god, okay, let's see what this is. And I was like, oh my god, they're doing the Witches again. I'm thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a bad idea. So I'm watching the trailer. Trailer surprisingly sold me. It kind of sold me. Tucci clenched it. I'll admit, to Stanley Tucci and the way he did clench it, I was like kind of feeling it. Then okay, oh my god, I gotta watch this now. I gotta look into this. Um, the honestly, the Octavia Spencer of it all was really like the different the take on the whole grandmother grandson relationship of the film is I think the strongest element of the film. And
Octavia Spencer is definitely the best element.
so
I
that's what
think.
I'm saying. So that initially the
To me,
trailers.
the weak element of this was the witches themselves. I thought the witches themselves like really paled in comparison to the original.
So I think I'm kind of simpatico with you there. Where Octavia Spencer's the godsend to the movie, no question. She's the
Absolutely,
best element.
absolutely, 100%.
And again, she's honestly she like the whole like when I heard Chris Rock kind of speaking about his grandmother in in the trailer, it's like speaking fond of his grandmother. Is Octavia Spencer, see some bonding there, and we get Tucci just to clench it, and like an all-star cast of mech. It's like why not check it out? Um, but ultimately, yes. I mean,
I think the CG in this movie was honestly kind of awful in some
that's what I'm
spots.
that's the biggest knock
Like
against the movie.
the best way I can describe it, Dragon, is the CG in this movie would look impressive if it was for a commercial.
Sure. So that's the thing. I really here's the thing. I enjoyed this movie. Whether I think it's like I'm not saying it's better necessarily better than the original or anything. I
Like I
really
said,
enjoyed.
I think it's just the fact that I like the original better than I like Hocus Pocus. Like I'll say that much. In terms of like '90s witch movies, I'll take this over Hocus
Have you
Pocus.
rewatched Hocus Pocus lately by any chance?
I was super overexposed to Hocus Pocus as a kid, so I do not feel like
Because
rewatching it.
I tried to rewatch it around Halloween, and I gotta tell you, man, dude, like I couldn't finish it because of the opening scene. It's so terrible.
Hocus Pocus bothers me a lot. Like my sister was like obsessed with it, so I watched it a million times. And of course, it's got this like super rabid like cult fan base around it. We're probably never going to cover it on Haunted Holiday Hijinks for
Well,
that
eventually,
reason.
once it reached 30 years, I mean, it's a ways off, like 3 years off. But if at that point we're gonna have to, but let
Right,
me try. I'm gonna
right.
try to economize it. I'm gonna try to keep this brief here. So
Okay,
back to the witches of all. I don't have much more to say. Let me
okay.
economize it here. So the witches. So Hocus Pocus. The thing is, Hocus Pocus feels a lot. I remember the biggest memory I have of Hocus Pocus is that overall decent movie, but it drags. There's an ending, and then like, hey, we seemingly defeated the witches. Then we're just going to drag on to the no, they're actually not gone. It's like, oh man, why this feels like a 2 hour movie when it's not,
Right, 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 right.
And on the rewatch recently, again, I'm watching this in the classroom scene. I just can't get behind our main lead characters. Okay, I'm out. I can't. This seems painful. I can't do it. I just can't do it. That's where I'm like throwing my hands up there. It's like he's hitting all. He's like giving the girl his phone number in class, all cockily.
Oh
I'm out.
man, the Disney Channel movies were super problematic with the love interest. We saw
That's
that
what I'm
with Phantom of the
saying. It
Megaplex.
was just really painful. I couldn't rewatch it. It was like, nope. I know. Look, I know Doug Jones is in this movie, but I just can't do it.
Oh
I
God.
can't do it. Okay, so back to the witches. So yes, I absolutely concur with you, Tiki. Admittedly, I really missed the practical makeups and the effects with the Henson. Jim Henson did the effects in the original. So
Yes, yes, yes. That's one of the main reasons why I
mm-hmm.
love the original.
I know. So obviously, and also it's hard to top Angelica Houston. Let's be honest.
Oh,
Let's just say that.
absolutely, absolutely.
So these are the elements. Overall, I really enjoy the movie, but those elements I cannot fight against.
I checked this out for Robert Zemeckis, and I really just feel like Dragon. The thing is with Robert Zemeckis, did you ever see Flight?
No, not Flight.
Okay, because Flight is like a damn good Zemeckis movie, man. That movie is underrated as fuck. It's a damn good Zemeckis movie. It makes me interested in current day Zemeckis. Zemeckis can do a damn good movie if he wants to, but man, I don't know what he's doing. His career in the 2010s has just been all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Welcome to Marvel. Didn't love it, but I liked it.
Uh huh.
But
Oh,
I hear you.
Welcome to Marwin. Jesus Christ. That
What?
movie that movie I just saw the trailers over and over and over and over.
Anyway,
Anyway.
But yeah, but my point is, I concur about the CG was definitely. I kind of knew that going to the CG was going to be iffy. I was like, yeah, it didn't save it. Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I can give in the win column for the CG briefly is that I think the Cheshire look on the witches was a neat idea.
It was a good design choice. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the whole, like give him like the mouth thing looks a lot better than, I mean, with the whole, I believe essentially Zemeckis is trying to adapt the book a little bit more than the movie, which clearly comes through with like the ending and stuff like that. Where
Mhm.
obviously it's not very different there, but that's what I'm saying. That's in both versions. Though I can't stand the fat kid. I'm sorry, I can't stand him. I don't like him. Just seems like it really was a bad encumbrance. It's really really offensive to fat people. After you think of all the things you're going to update these days, but no, still pretty bad. And like the kill he's demanding is really is like that kid kind of deserved it. Anyway. So, here's the thing: I do love the palatable mounting tension in certain scenes, like the soup scene, for example, like doing that, and the showdown in the hotel room, which I believe was an added sequence. That whole thing where they're kind of facing off in the hotel room, mano a mano, the witch who then traumatized her with their little friend, all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I like I like Dan Hathaway, but no Angelica Hughes. That's what I'm saying. I mean, certain elements absolutely pale in comparison to the original movie, but on the whole, though, I had a good time with it. It lacked what it lacked in nightmare fuel, like the original had. I mean that in a good way, like in the big memorable, like the makeup and everything. Oh my goodness, the whammo blam of it all. Like what it lacked in that, I feel it made up for in the story department. It
Mhm.
really impressed me, and yeah, it's where I'm at on it. It's
Monkey brings up the CG mice, and it made him think of the Tale of Despero. And honestly, the CG mice were the main thing I was talking about, where it feels like commercial CGI.
They made a smart choice story wise with the mice, though, with
Uh
the
huh.
way and the ending goes. I got to admit, like that, I can give it major points for, and that's what I'm saying. These are again. I know it's gonna burn your ears. I believe that's a Del Toro choice. That's what I'm saying. It feels like I watched it on Halloween. It was a good way to spend Halloween, I guess. I enjoyed it.
All right. Okay. So let's see. What is next? What is next? What is next? I got Borat subsequent movie film. Dragon, if I said all the subtitles this movie has, because it changes throughout the movie, we'd be here forever.
Oh God, really?
It does. It does.
I've seen one scene from this movie. Tell me, how is it?
Okay, I think this movie is decent on its own. What really sold me on it right away was the whole kind of like meta commentary of so basically Borat has been in prison in a Kakistan prison since the first movie came out for giving Kakistan a bad name.
Ha!
And Dragon, I loved that. That right away I was just, okay, I'm sold on this. I'm so
That's a great start, Leslie.
that's a
That's
brilliant
really
premise. That's
great.
a brilliant premise. So essentially, Dragon, the movie boils down to like Borat. I don't think the movie has as good of a setup as the original one does. It's a little bit more complicated, where the Kakistan government basically wants him to deliver a gift to Mike Pence. And I don't really like the movie doesn't do a great job of explaining exactly why they trust Borat with that. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like, hey, Borat, do this thing for us, and we'll give you your freedom. I don't know. It's weird. But we get another scene in his village, and it feels just like the first movie. The village has kind of like become a little bit more PC these days. It's like the running of the Jews has been retired and stuff like that. But then we get to America, and I gotta tell you, Dragon, the hidden camera stuff in this movie, it does not have nearly the same bite as the original one did. It really doesn't. And to me, a big part of that is because basically what they do is they acknowledge in the film that Borat is very recognizable, right? That people like know who he is, know what the gimmick is. So essentially, what they do is they put him in a bunch of disguises.
I saw a little bit of this in the one clip I saw. Yeah.
And because of that, Dragon, I gotta tell you, it feels less like a Borat movie and more like just kind of like generic Sasha Baron Cohen hidden camera comedy. Um, And just another thing about it is that, like, even when he is in the costume, I feel like people kind of catch on to the joke, and like, there's a lot more of the people involved, like, kind of like knowing what's going on and sort of playing it up. And Dragon, that's really like that. Just, I mean, there's no way they really could have done another Borat movie with the same bite as the original, because the original very much was just kind of like, it was like lightning in a bottle, man. I mean, that was just like the ugly parts of America in 2007, just like encapsulated on film right there, in a really funny kind of pseudo journalism kind of way. And this, I don't know. I just feel like this one, the Rudy Giuliani bit. I mean, it is the film does.
That's the scene I saw.
The film does build up to that, and I mean, it is pretty shocking. I'll give you that much. But I gotta say, that's one of the more shocking moments in the movie, and I think that, and honestly, I think that even then, it kind of relies more on editing to get the shocking stuff across more than anything else. So yeah, I just, with this movie overall, I feel like I kind of knew it wasn't gonna have the same punch as the original, and it didn't. Still a good time though, but I think Trial of the Chicago 7 easily the better Sacha Baron Cohen movie this month.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, yeah, Giuliani's scene it, because here's the thing. Politically, I have no stand. I know nothing politically really about what the guy is for, and I kind of like Giuliani because he was on Seinfeld, and he's kind of a New Yorker. I kind of like him. Thinking not political.
Well, touch that with a 10-foot pole, Dragon.
That's what I'm saying, just ordinarily. But my point is, I
remember when he was the mayor of New York during 9/11, and we were all kind of rallying around him. I remember those days.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like I kind of like him surface level. I know nothing about the man. Right. I don't take any stances. Anyway, it's kind of like the thing of Bernie Sanders. I don't really know what the guy's for, but I kind of like him.
right.
Anyway, my point is, with the Giuliani thing, of course, I watched. That's a scene I watched, and they did kind of this whole thing with, like if you look, there's kind of the scene may not be exactly what it looks like, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. It's a weird scene. It feels maybe a little ambushy, but still really it feels weird anyway. You strike it.
I
don't know. Anyway.
All right. Let's see. So you saw Batman. Oh, Batman: Death in the Family interactive movie. What is this about?
Okay, so this one, I don't know. This one's kind of cheap. We kind of need another movie, and I figured, you know what? I mean, so this is a short film technically, so it really shouldn't count. But it's kind of a couple movies in one. So here's the deal. Okay, so you remember? So obviously you know the whole killing of Jason Todd. Obviously,
yeah,
sure. The whole toll-free number thing, right? So essentially, what they've done is they've taken the animated movie Under the Red Hood, which starts off with Death in the Family, Death of Jason Todd, and we reflected in an interactive, almost like a choose your own adventure DVD. Like choose your own adventure. Remember those at all? Like the old interactive like DVD features, like you could do like a story, and you could pick the direction, pick the choice, kind of basically Telltale before we had Telltale. Essentially, that's what they did for this as a short film. So you can actually do Death of the Family with 7 different outcomes. And I played through all of them. It's really interesting. They have animated new footage, but it's like a continuation and different outcomes for Under the Red Hood, the animated movie. It's quite fun. It's quite interesting. Unfortunately, the only knock I have against this thing is that no Jensen Ackles. For some reason, they couldn't get him. I don't know if it was a money thing or what, but they have the kid, the young Jason Todd, doing the voice of him as they grow up. So you see, so you have 3 outcomes you start with. I'm going to walk you through everything. I'm just going to say the big choice you make, the big call-in number you make, is either Robin dies, which is the boring answer, by the way, because essentially basically what happens on that one. I don't recommend anyone pick that one because Batman basically recaps Under the Red Hood for that one, and there's like a twist at the end, but you get from that. It's good writing, but it's just like nothing really happens. Then the interesting choices. One is Batman saves Robin, which is interesting. The other one, my favorite choice, I think, Robin cheats death. So that's basically Robin cheats death is basically like the page they didn't use from Death of the Family. Like had the people called and like, hey, don't kill off Jason Todd. That's Jason Todd. That's the one. So it goes very interesting directions, very interesting paths. Like we see, I won't spoil everything, but there's like some Grant Morrison nods in one path. There's Two-Face, very interesting Joker. There's a very interesting Joker section, like what happens, with the Joker. I'll say that much. You got clever nods, you got logical conclusions. Again, maybe a BS moment or two again, hence the whole, like, we're just going to recap Under the Red Hood again without like, the movie? Like, what are you doing? But it's a very cool companion piece Under the Red Hood. That's really all I can really say about it. It's interesting to you. I think you should look into it if you can. I mean, just to see at least what some of the outcomes were or whatnot. It's fun.
All right. Okay, finally I watched an Amazon Prime documentary called Time, and this intrigued me just based on the setup. And it's a very, very low budget movie, Dragon, about the most low budget movie you could get, because it's all filmed on mini DV tapes.
Sorry,
So
on mini what tapes?
mini DV tapes.
Huh.
You know what those are, right?
I gotta tell you, I'm struggling at the moment. Like
The
DV
like
tape.
basically when before camcorders went digital.
Oh, you mean like little tapes that went into the camcorders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry. I've never heard that. I've seen like little tapes that go in the cam. Okay, I keep going. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so this is essentially kind of like it follows in the same sort of footsteps as something like American Murder, except it's even more stripped down than that. It's essentially just a woman's video diaries while she's going through 20 years of her husband being in prison.
Oh,
And yeah, Dragon, it's super emotional. It says a lot about the injustices of African Americans in the prison system. It definitely gets political. I'm not going to lie. It is a political kind of movie, but by the same point, it's a very kind of emotionally riveting watch. It's very short. It's very bite sized. Obviously, with it being filmed on mini DV tapes, it's got a style to it. Like I was fat. The reason I gravitated towards it is that I used to document basically when I used to go to Disneyland. I used to pretty much like document the entire trip on mini DV tapes. Dragon, I'd be like filming obsessively. So I have fond memories of using mini DV tapes. This obviously is not a fun occasion to be using the mini DV tapes, but still, it's a very interesting watch. It's kind of definitely sort of the Black Lives Matter pick of the month for me. Definitely kind of got you into that sort of spirit. And so if you're looking for a strong story of African Americans in today's political climate dealing with stuff, this is definitely a movie to check out. And also, like I said, I'm really getting intrigued by this new sort of like the found footage documentary is what I would call it, Dragon.
that's good to hear, Tiki.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, Claude says, have you guys seen Netflix's Blood of Zeus? No, I have not, Claude.
I've seen it on the carousel, they're kind of putting all like little
Oh,
screensaver things. So I mean, I have not, but I've seen, I've seen the thing.
all right. So let's see. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all of our. Okay.
but you recommend
So,
Time though.
yeah, I would recommend it. Sure, sure. It's a heavy watch. It's definitely a heavy movie, but it's good.
All right.
All right. So catch up.
All right, I'm going to start us off here. Of course, the month of Halloween. I got to get some of the Universal monsters in there, or certain updates of Universal monsters. So we're starting with the Invisible Man. Ooh, 2020. Yeah, I could have watched this towards the tail end of last month, but I kind of waited for October, because why not? And this is the Universal Monster reboot universe that we need, Tiki. This is the
Dragon, I have
concept.
not heard. Like, you're the only one who's raving about this. This movie's gotten pretty mediocre reviews, which is why I'm not like in a rush to watch it.
Really? No, man, I
Yeah,
thought it was great. I mean, absolutely, it's absolutely up
I mean,
your
I
alley. I'm
totally
like,
believe you
yeah,
that I'm sure it's a ton better than The Mummy. I believe you in that regard, but
yeah. I'm saying like if you're building obviously I know one of these is like a technicality, but just go with me right again. I'm saying if you're building a Universal Monsters universe, I mean, I want this Invisible Man, I want the Shape of Water. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like,
oh
let's build
man.
the. That's what I'm saying. That's how you do. That's how you do that. But seriously, this thing's absolutely up your alley, buddy boy. I tell you. So this was directed by the guy who did Upgrade. This is by Lee Wanell, who does
Mhm.
does a mean movie, by the way. It's a good movie. So this is he applied so much thought and respect to the Invisible Man in this regard, because this is not, obviously it's an update. I won't spoil some of the stuff here, but let me just say, like, the Invisible Man himself is Adrian Griffin, so that's a big pull. But we updated. It's great take on the Invisible Man, which, of course, the wonderful thing about the Invisible Man as a concept, I do very much enjoy the Invisible Man, as you folks can probably tell, just in general. The great thing about him is that he's always reinterpreted. It's always a reinterpretation every movie, so it's never the same thing. Like sometimes you'll name drop Adrian Griffin, which this movie does. Like we name drop him, the name comes into play, but in the face not so much. Visible pun, sorry, dumb joke. Anyway, but yeah, this is a really clever reinvention. Elizabeth Moss plays Cecilia. She plays kind of the main lead of the film. She's the victim of the Invisible Man throughout the course of the film. She is we have a very modern explanation for the Invisible Man, which is great, and also but the movie importantly keeps true to the old school horror elements. That you never, it looks so fondly back on the Invisible Man, what was scary about, it, and really distills down what is terrifying about an invisible guy. Like you look, some people scoff at the Invisible Man. Oh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna pull things on strings. Ooh, I'm so scared. Like, oh, the cigarette's been lit. Ooh, the sound of a guy like Vincent Price. Ooh, I'm so scared. Folks, it's about not knowing when something's around you. It's like this whole movie gets down to this distillation, the fear, and the paranoia. This is a psychological thriller about the Invisible Man. It gets down to like the Joker. Like, there's a Joker-like quality to the Invisible Man, and that Claude Rains, who played the Invisible Man way back in the day, is the inspiration for Mark Hamill's Joker. The whole madness of the guy who's like so cocky, so confident, who's just really in control. This is like a Scott Snyder Joker, but he's invisible, Tiki. That's what I'm saying. This guy, oh my God, it's really good stuff there. But also there was a great human side of it too, where Elizabeth Moss's character, she has friends who are also kind of targeted by the Invisible Man, who you really feel for. It's got good stuff. It's an excellent thriller. The unstoppable power and the madness of the Invisible Man builds to a wonderful crescendo and a sequence. I don't even want to describe it. I'm just going to describe it like the Invisible Man. It's air. You don't see it until it's too late. Stuff like that. It's got a perfect ending that invites a sequel, but also would work perfectly as a standalone. You don't need a sequel. It's kind of a little bit of both. This director, because this movie played so well financially, because it was made on a low budget, because again, the Invisible Man of it all. This guy's going to be doing the Wolfman movie coming up, and I wonder, he's promising like a non-conventional Wolfman, kind of like the non-conventional Invisible Man. I hope he can pull off, because sounds like a little taller order than Invisible Man if you don't do the Wolfman classic.
Right,
so
right, yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but yeah, this is a perfect way to start Halloween. This is a perfect way to start Halloween with the Invisible Man. This movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to rapid fire through the next few because we've talked about them all on Haunted Holiday Hijinks. So let's see. So Creature from the Black Lagoon, very, very, very atmospheric, classic Universal movie. I honestly have no idea why I've never seen it. Of course, it's super iconic. I remember having the poster in my grandparents' garage when I was a kid, and that really sticking out to me. Honestly, maybe it was like kind of a fear thing that I never got around to it. But what stuck out to me the most about Creature was the fact that I've said this before. It's kind of my thesis statement on the movie, is that it combines the kind of like the gothic horror of the original Universal monster movies with some of the blockbuster sensibilities of what was to come in Hollywood movies. So it's a really interesting kind of like transitioning point in cinema for me. All right, Phantom of the Megaplex. It's a lot of fun. I think it's one of the Disney Channel's better Halloween movies. Of course, you've got Movie Mason, who's one of the best Disney Channel original movie characters ever. Just hands down. And Dragon, goddamn, this movie just makes me long for the movie theater. And honestly, like, if the movie theaters, God forbid, do kind of go the way of the dodo, I'm going to show this movie to my kids is like an example of like, this is why we had movies.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. Nah. I mean, I'm glad
Not quite the same vigor.
I'm glad I finally saw it, but Matthew Lillard gets a few laughs for sure. You know, I mean, overall, it's a great cast, right? The live action cast for these two movies did really, really live up to their roles. I don't know. I honestly kind of prefer the first movie to this one, just because I feel like the first movie on a plot level is a little bit more connected, and I certainly have more nostalgia for the first movie because, after all, Dragon, it was the summer of Six Flags. But anyways, okay, then we get to Bride of the Gorilla. Oh boy.
Tiki, I have one now. So.
Wait, well, I'm sorry,
Oh, no, yep. I'm sorry. Please, you're right. You're right. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, keep going. You sure?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're right. Go on.
Okay. All right. So, Bride of the Gorilla Dragon. This one came into work. It's an old school horror movie, black and white horror movie from 1951, I believe. It's got Lon Chaney in it, but Lon Chaney's kind of in the Johnny Depp from Tusk role, where he's like, it's like the memorable character actor who's in like a side, like he's like a side character investigating the movie, and his role really doesn't matter to the overall movie. This movie's just absolutely fucking bonkers, but also kind of boring. So, oh, how do I tell? Oh God, I don't know. I could describe this movie to you, Dragon, but it's really just kind of like a 1950s stinker. It's really cheesy. Like I'll say this much. Basically, it's Wolfman with a gorilla. That's what it
Really?
is. Yeah.
So man transforms into ape, pretty much.
That's what it is. Yeah, I won't bore you with the details of how it happens.
You know what's great about the title, though?
What?
So it's Bride of the Gorilla, right?
Yeah.
Remember Ed Wood always selling the movie like Bride of the Monster, which he then had they started like Bride of the Ad, and they had to change the Bride of the Monster. He had like the generic like Bride of titles he's ripping off from Frankenstein for the B movies of the 50s. Oh, God.
Okay, so I like basically the movie is just super repetitive. It's just like all the main characters are like it's kind of set up similar to Creature from the Black Lagoon, where they're all out in this jungle for some reason. They don't even really give a valid reason why they're all out there. Honestly, it's just like, oh, here we are in the middle of the jungle, and the titular bride of the Gorilla Dragon, she's she's of course she's kind of just a standard like Hollywood dame at the time, and there's literally like very sexist dialogue of like, oh, women like this can't hack it in an environment like this. You know what I mean? Like it's very
Right.
much like kind of like the Fey Ray sort of situation.
I was gonna make us some sandwiches, though, face.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. But Dragon, basically, the movie sort of like the guy gets cursed to transform into a gorilla because the jungle calls to him. Dragon, and it repeats that over and over. The jungle's calling to me. The
Costume
jungle.
like the lion turtle.
So it's like every night he just kind of like goes through the same like fucking like couple. He walks through the same like outdoor set with a couple lawn chairs and goes into the quote unquote jungle. And the jungle's obviously a soundstage, and we have like obviously like so inserted footage from like nature documentaries of animals to make it seem like the jungle. I'm not gonna lie, Dragon, there is like maybe 2 minutes of screen time for the gorilla in the whole movie.
Wait, did they get an actual gorilla or is it a guy in a suit?
It's a guy in a suit.
Well, that figures.
And I mean, it's like they just do everything they possibly can to hide this gorilla. I mean, most of the time when you do see the gorilla, it's just the hands. Like, there's maybe, like, honestly, a couple shots of the full body. And just that alone just makes the movie so boring, so repetitive. It's just basically like she keeps finding the guy in the jungle, like with his clothes ripped off, and there's a beast going around. It's like the werewolf thing. The stupid thing is, Dragon, they just think he's got like jungle fever. They don't think anything of him being the actual fucking gorilla. It's just like that never even gets brought up.
So this is pretty much a Riff Tracks movie, is what you're telling me.
Oh, definitely. It's a Riff Tracks movie. That's why I watched it. But honestly, even as a Riff Tracks movie, it's kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie.
I see. You know, it kind of reminds me of with all this gorilla talk. It reminds me of
What?
like Cosgrove Freakazoid and Roddy McStew watching Congos. So that's a guy, and that's a guy in a suit. No, that's a monkey. Okay, no, that's a that's a monkey. No, it's a guy in a suit. We gotta watch this movie again.
I could see
Uh,
this movie being a Cosgrove and Freakazoid favorite, honestly.
all
Because it
right,
does have kind of like that Freakazoid style melodrama dragon. All right, a
what
couple
makes me want
things.
to go back to Congo? Really, what makes me want to do it? He's talking about it.
Okay, a couple things from Claude. The trailer for Disney Plus Star Wars Holiday Special came out today. Very interested in that. Very
Oh
interested
yeah,
in
we're
that.
definitely covering that. Maybe not. Let me put it this way, folks. We're covering that for our kind of our December shenanigans. So
For seasonal shenanigans, yeah.
yeah.
Matthew Lillard versus Will Forte as Shaggy. Do you have to ask? Do you really have to ask?
I mean, Mystery
uh,
Incorporated, guys. Matthew Lillard wins hands down. We're looking
Lillard,
at voice
yeah,
acting, but I
Lillard,
mean,
like
also, I
hands
mean,
down. I mean, I don't think like I Will Forte was honestly like Zach Efron to me was fine as Fred, but like Will Forte just really did do it for me as Shaggy,
the
and
best
I think
performance in that was Amanda Seyfried's Daphne. She was fantastic.
that's true. She was also good. But I don't know. I just think that I think that Lillard as Shaggy is honestly like come at me, bro. I think it's maybe an even better performance than Casey Kasem.
I don't know if I go there.
I think he's the definitive Shaggy for me.
I see. I'm looking less like fighty to you. I'm looking more like he passed on the torch. He passed the torch to Lillard, and Lillard's running with it
And
proudly.
I'm saying like Lillard brought a lot more dimension to the character while still maintaining the spirit of the character.
Well, it's fair. It's also the writing coming into play there. Case Kasem wasn't as lucky with the writing. But
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm saying I don't know how fair that is, but I mean fair. I mean fair point. So, I mean the point being they're both great. I think we can acknowledge they're both
Casey
great.
Kasem had some pretty terrible dialogue along all in the
That's
years
what I'm.
he.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. So now it brings us to the Pentagon Wars.
Yes.
We're still in like a little dash of politics.
Well, it's kind of appropriate given my other catch-up movie. It kind of
I,
fits together.
I know, right? That's why I arranged it like that.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. So, Pentagon Wars. So this is an HBO movie. It was a made for HBO movie. I guess technically that makes it a TV movie, but you know, potato potato. From '98. It has the Kells in it, man. We were talking Frasier, and I felt I was, you know, for hijinks. I was like, oh my god, I want to watch a movie with the Kells in it just to make me feel good. I gotta tell you, so this is kind of based on a true story, at least a true event. So ish, it's kind of true story ish. It's based on a true event, and just they're kind of basically telling that event through this fiction of a movie. It's basically this movie is kind of a fun critique of the military-industrial complex. It's funny. It's really satirical and fun. Where it's so not at all what I imagined it to be. Honestly, just looking at the
yeah, I
posters,
was gonna
looking at
say
the
when I said when I heard the title, I was not expecting like satirical farce.
yeah, so it is a comedy. It's a comedy with kind of like kind of an ethical point to it. So it's looking at the poster in in the summary. It says Kelsey Grammer plays like a bumbling he plays a bumbling character who's in the midst of this ethical thing. So essentially, knowing Frasier's, knowing the Kells and his
Mm.
typical roles, I'm thinking, okay, so the Kells is going to be like the honest guy fighting the uphill battle. No, he's the corrupt general. It's like, okay, wow. So it's him and Carrie Elwes. Carrie Elwes is playing the morally upstanding guy trying to kind of thwart the Kells. So here's the true story the movie's telling is that so there is this thing called a Bradley tank. So like the Bradley tank essentially had a sordid history to it that they tell in this fantastic sequence with a Richard Schiff. Of course, it's on The Good Doctor now. Richard Schiff was as Tiki lovingly referred to him as in the Lost World commentary, Doughy Man. Richard Schiff. Basically, he kind of tells
Yes,
this.
yes.
He tells this
Well, to be
wonderful.
fair, I got Doughy Man from Nostalgia Critic Dragon.
Wait, really? It's been a while. I forgot. So that's where you got Doughy Man from.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Huh. I don't know. Anyway, still unfair Richard Schiff, man. He's good. Anyway, so no. Anyway, though, so basically, we have this. I think the best part of the movie is this sad satirical sequence where we learn the origin of the Bradley tank. Where basically Richard Schiff was back in the '60s, where this is like set in the '90s. So we go back to the '60s, where he was the guy who brought the project forward. So Bradley tank was supposed to be a troop carrier. That's what it was originally supposed to be, as in not supposed to face down or kill men or do anything, just like it's like a troop carrier. Bring guys from point A to point B and protect them. That's the whole point of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this whole military-industrial complex, the idea we do really funny here is that the generals, they have suggestions and notes saying, can't we make it look more sturdy, can we make it look like a tank? But it's a troop carrier. But it can't be a tank, though. But it's a troop carrier. You know, we need to be able to let's put supplies in instead of men. Like, no, we need men in it. Otherwise, why is it a troop? It's a carrier. So basically, we see this hysterical sequence of like this guy's going back to the drawing board with all these idiotic things that turns into the most ineffective tank ever, which would endanger. It's basically putting soldiers in a tin box with like a little gun on it. So Carrie always is trying to get a simple test to prove this thing's unsafe for the whole movie. Again, comedy with a purpose, with a nice solid message that, you know, like, let's worry about getting the job done right before worry about these generals basically failing upwards in the military industrial complex. Like, hey, if we deliver something that looks really shiny and deadly, we're going to get promoted. So it's nice and with a point. It's quite funny. You know, again, the Kells is kind of more on the antagonistic side. I don't expect like full on Kells, but he's like the blustery general, like giving great speeches as he tends to do. So that one's good. It's a nice movie.
All right. So, Dragon, have you seen A Few Good Men?
I have, but it has been a while. Basically, when I think A Few Good Men, I'm thinking of the iconic scene, if I'm being
Well, of
honest.
course, naturally.
You know, that's what I'm saying. It's usually my go-to with A Few Good Men. I'm a little spotty on some of the details, but I have seen it, yes.
Yeah, I wanted another. I wanted another Sorkin courtroom movie, Dragon, and this one definitely delivered. So Tom Cruise, of course, the star of the movie, alongside Demi Moore, and you know, this movie, I think, probably the one could feel like it was a Hollywood note of like, for God's sakes, these two have to flirt at some time.
Gotta give us something.
And one is a female.
Yep.
But I think this movie's fantastic. I would love to see this play, Dragon, because this is based on a play that Sorkin wrote before he became a screenwriter. I would love to see the play. I think this would work so well as a play. What really fascinates me, Dragon, Jack Nicholson is kind of the Hannibal Lecter of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
You only get him for about 10 minutes, but oh my God, is it a compelling 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously, Jack Nicholson's role is probably like the main thing that impressed me about the movie. How they were able, because, you know, of course, when I first started watching it, I was like, well, where's Nicholson? You know, like, Nicholson's second build. When's he going to show up? But then when I realized what his role is, and I realized like what they're doing with his role, like they're kind of teeing him up to be kind of like the kind of like the smoking gun of the trial. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And of course, Dragon, I know that you can't handle the truth is coming, and I just don't know the context of it, you know. So yeah, I will say I think Trial of the Chicago 7 is probably like, it's probably a little bit more refined in its presentation, and it's a little more stylish, and it's a little more it's got a little bit more going on in terms of characterization. But I think this is probably the more iconic movie, and overall will probably stand the test of time over Trial of Chicago 7.
Sure.
Because I just think it's just like razor sharp storytelling. Like I said, it would work so well as a play. It's like there's no moment wasted in this movie. It's just very, very sharp courtroom, like really, really edge of your seat, white knuckle courtroom action. It's a classic for a reason. It's probably my highlight of the month, if I'm being honest.
Okay. All right. Okay. So to echo your time that you had earlier, I had a rather interesting documentary. It's quite similar.
Is this another like found footage documentary?
essentially, it's not all found footage, but it's the whole
Dragon, I
thing's
don't
about.
know. I know it's not technically found footage because it's not like the footage it was like unearthed or anything. But that's the best way I can describe it. You
Well,
know?
no, I get what you mean. The point is, like,
Yeah,
I have like
yeah.
a home. My whole thing's like home movie based, so it's kind of like a similar thing with found footage. Anyway, so this is Rewind from 2019. It was on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
It's this documentary. It's a documentary on Amazon about Sasha Newlinger, I believe his name is Sasha Newlinger. So basically, it's basically a guy in adulthood. Kind of like we're framing the story as this guy looking backwards, and he's exploring. We're exploring this kid's life through the home movies. Again, pretty already. It's like okay, that sounds like it. That was kind of what sold me. I had no idea what was coming, though. My God, I mean,
Kind of
so
like real life Boyhood.
kind of.
Uh huh.
So we're in a sense, we're going back to the home movies, and basically we kind of like, and there's it seems kind of slice of life, but then there's a dark discovery. He was
Ooh.
abused badly.
Ooh.
So apparently this guy, he was part of this kid. He was part of a big case against one of the members of his family, who came from a Jewish family,
Uh huh.
was a Jewish cantor. It
Okay.
was his uncle. So again, he had like there were three, I believe, three abusers, and this was like a big case back in
Oh
the day.
wow.
And again, a really prominent guy being accused within a family of abusing him and his sister. It was awful. So
Ooh.
this thing, it's the point being the documentary. We do this through expertly captured footage. Where I'm just saying, this is like home movies, but like the parents or the interviews, the parents years later, they're kind of getting over like the bad stuff they had, and they're kind of processing and moving forward by kind of closing the nails on the past here by kind of like putting it to bed. So it's very disquieting, the footage that you see here sometimes. Like it's a little
Yeah,
Dear
sounds like it.
Zachary esque. Like maybe it's a little Dear Zachary esque, but not quite like. I mean, it's not as like. I mean, we always go to Dear Zachary as the analogy on hand with this sort of thing. But I don't know if it's not as like have like that big eyes going red like like that really scary moment in Dear Zachary. You don't quite get what I mean.
Mhm.
You don't quite get to that bit, but it's a
Well, I mean,
compelling.
to be fair, like honestly, for most documentaries, I don't necessarily want to get to that point. Like that was a lot to take in. You know what I mean?
You don't quite get to like we left turn, then we go off the cliff. It's not like that. It's not like a big shotgun because again, this thing is like it's a compelling slow burn. That's what it is. It's compelling though. It's like you're already there. Like there are moments with the kid where you can look at this kid in the home movie footage and you see the unsettling development of this kid where something's off with this kid and you don't quite know what it is. And then once we get into the victimization, and you're putting the pieces. Oh, that's what caused that. And it's really interesting. It is, and the use of footage, as I said, is great. Again, the kid he's the one who made the movie, so again, he's like the director of the piece. So it's a cathartic documentary and looking through the past. So it's very in line with time, Teague. I think you might like it.
Okay, cool, cool.
All right. Okay, so then I believe that brings it. Yeah, it brings it back. Okay, back to me for the next couple. Okay, so last two. Okay, so Downhill. You've seen this before, right?
This movie got so much shit for like no reason, Dragon. People hated this movie, and I honestly thought it was one of the most memorable of the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I did. Here's my comparison for it. So this Downhill, of course, the Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Will Ferrell thing where they're skiing and well, shenanigans ensue. Avalanche happens, protects the mom stays with the kids, dad not so much. This was directed by Jim Rash, the guy who plays the Riddler on the Harley Quinn animated show, and the guy he played the Dean on Community, the guy with the glasses on Community. He directed this. The best comparison I had for this movie, this is a Curb. Basically, imagine you have as your premise a Curb Your Enthusiasm moment with a real life aftermath.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Best way I could describe this thing, where it's a dark comedy on like a newly troubled marriage. I think it's I think the performances are excellent, understated. I like seeing dramatic Will Ferrell, which is so rare that you get it. Like seeing like a really Will Ferrell in a really troubled marriage. And I love. This is going to sound very simple again. Of course, maybe I'm coming off the fumes of Onward. I don't know, but I love seeing Julie Louis-Dreyfus as a good mom. I really like that. I like seeing her, kind of as as the mother protected of the kids. I don't know. It's nice.
Mhm.
She kind of plays, we've seen her play opposite ends of the spectrum on that many a times. It's kind of nice to see that. It's refreshing. So apparently, this is a remake of. I think the reason I heard all the vitriol, and you probably know this better than I. It's kind of like the story with the Upside. The Upside is a remake of a foreign film, where this is kind of the same thing. Where this is a remake of
And
Frost's
Dragon, I
New
watched
Joy.
the foreign film, and I honestly think this one's a little bit more palatable for
Wait,
me.
so you saw the foreign film on this one?
Yes.
I just want to make sure. Okay, so right. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I haven't seen the foreign film, obviously, but again, you heard it from the horse's mouth right here. You got it.
I mean, look, and most people prefer the foreign film, but for me, I just thought the foreign film basically, got the same idea across in almost twice the runtime.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty well. I'll admit the only thing I didn't care for in the movie, it's like a small gripe, mind you. I mean, I think the bar stuff, like when basically Will Ferrell's character is getting a little schlockered and like getting like almost gets into a bar fight or something. It's like I don't think we
Well,
needed that.
every Will Ferrell movie, you need a drunken tangent, though. That's kind of a prerequisite with Will Ferrell.
Fair enough. Exception of Megamind.
Well, yeah, there's a couple exceptions,
No,
late movie.
you're right. You're
But
right.
I'm saying, like, in terms of his live action comedies.
Yes, in regards to that, certainly, because I mean, there's so many spring away. Even Elf. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that says something, right? Anyway, the whole thing, I rather enjoyed it. I mean, I don't like I wouldn't say best of the year. I know you're not saying that either. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah,
best of the year by any means. It's not going to
sure,
be on
sure,
my
but I
top
mean,
10
again,
list. But
by the time we were getting movies, I mean, again, it's I found it enjoyable. I love this whole all this strife, the family in crisis while on the quote unquote fun vacation gone south. It's I think the resolution was very classy. I really like the whole resolution on the
I
slopes. I
did
really
too.
like.
I did too. Yeah.
Thought that was really great. Again, Julie Louis Dreyfus, she was fantastic, and it's overall it was good. It was good. Maybe not exceptional, but it was good.
Uh-huh.
And lastly, this is one you definitely want to get to at some point, Tiki. Last one is a recent one. I kind of squeezed it in at the last minute. Robin's Wish. So this, have you heard about this?
No, not at all.
This is the recent Robin Williams documentary.
Oh, okay. I had a feeling. For some reason, I had a feeling it was Robin Williams. Okay.
I saw this teased up. I don't know if it was like around Sundance or whatnot, like with Happy Happy Joy Joy and such. But Robin
Uh-huh.
was teed up. I remember Sean Levy was promoting this thing because he's in it. So yeah, this is the recent documentary. Came out last month. So that's why it's in the catch up versus anyway. So this is a documentary on Robin Williams, but here's what it focuses on. It focuses on less. It's not just like the old, the kind of. There's an excellent Robin Williams documentary. It's on HBO called "Come Inside My Mind," which I love. This is not a retread of that, which I'm really happy about. It's not a retread. This is about the underreported thing about Robin Williams' death.
Oh,
The
wow.
Lewy
Okay.
body, the Lewy body dementia. You ever hear about that?
No, no, no.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people, I guess, a lot of people don't know about this because again, I mean, Bobcat Goldthwait is on the Joe Rogan podcast. He talks about this. He's brought up in interviews and stuff because that's why not a lot of people know about it. He's the only one in Robin Williams' circle that really kind of talked about it. Now, this movie is the first time everyone publicly who's around Robin Williams kind of now talked about it. He had Robin Williams, while most likely, I mean, obviously the whole depression thing was very much raised. There was a lot of awareness raised of Robin Williams and depression, obviously, around the time he was passing. But there was a little more to it. There was one big thing to it, in that he was already suffering from Parkinson's, but then towards the end, he was suffering from this thing called Lewy body dementia, which essentially means his mind was going. He was losing pieces of himself. He was losing. He was starting to go. I don't know if this is the proper delicate way of putting it. He was kind of going senile. He was losing. He was dementia. He was getting dementia.
Uh-huh.
It was like a brain. It's like a brain disease essentially. That's essentially what's happening on top of the Parkinson's and on top of the stuff like the movie doesn't say it doesn't say anything like he never suffered from depression. It's clearly like we heard from Kevin Conroy, he suffered early. He definitely suffered through in life, but it just says like presumably this is what really brought that on, getting to the solution that he ultimately took, most likely. So yeah, this is but yeah, it's a really we hear like Sean Levy, hearing stories you never heard about, like him on set of National on Night at the Museum 3. Sorry, I was thinking National. Think of National Treasure for a second there. That's wrong. But yeah, like towards the towards the end, like he had struggles on the set, and they're kind of talking about that, and just kind of raising awareness about the thing that he was suffering with there. And again, it was quite moving. It's quite a moving reflection on Robin Williams, and it felt it feels different. You know, it felt different. It kind of had a good. It was really kind of a little cathartic. I don't mean to rehash the word, but it was kind of a cathartic documentary. It was quite it's quite good. I mean, I remember this palpable tension every time on the screens. They were kind of building to the event itself. It's like 2014. Every time it pops up on the screen, it's like, oh no, you feel the sense of dread, like the clock's ticking down, and Robin's not doing that good. Like it was a really it was a stirring watch, Tiki. It was a stirring watch indeed. Good documentary.
All right, cool.
All right.
Okay, best and worst, Dragon.
Yes, best and worst is kind of collectively, I suppose, because we're kind of these days we're kind of grappling.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
much.
I mean, best. I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards. I really liked Invisible Man. It's kind of between Invisible Man and Over the Moon. I think.
Oh, give it to Invisible Man.
All right, let's. I'm gonna give it to. I'm gonna give it to Invisible Man.
All right.
Worst, I think de facto worst. I'm sorry. Do you want to go with your best or?
No, go ahead.
De facto worst. I didn't really have anything bad on this list. I think the worst. I mean, I really enjoyed Witches. I mean, de facto, it's either I guess either Witches or Bat. That's probably Batman Death and Family because it's again I had like a disappointing ending within the seven possible routes. So I guess it's the worst thing I can say about it. So I guess technically it's Death and Family or the Witches, one of the two. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, for me, best. You know, I'm gonna combine the style of Trail of the Chicago 7 with the substance of A Few Good Men. So that'll be my best. I know it's kind of a cheat, but hey, it's two
Yep.
Sorkin for the price of one.
Yeah.
Worst Dragon. I mean, come on, it's got to be Bright. It's Bright of the Gorilla, man. I mean, that movie was just. Oh man, that movie was a train wreck. I didn't see anything even close to as bad as that. All right.
Yeah.
So, Dragon, there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out this next month. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much of it is going to theaters, how much of it is going streaming. I know Ron Howard's new movie Hillbilly Eulogy is coming out, but I'm not sure where that's landing.
Two
Uh,
things. So on the banner.
oh yeah, right. Okay.
Secondly, I got bad news about another movie I was really excited for this year. That got postponed, like basically to next year, and Disney took it off the board. It was Free Guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
was
was really
wondering what they were going to do with that.
yeah, because it looks so fun. I'm so looking forward to it. And that's
Yeah.
yeah, they took again. They covered their base because they said they had no idea when it's going to come out now because on that little fun trailer they had. But anyway.
Christmas Chronicles 2.
Yeah, we got that coming out. That's a biggie. The Orange Years. That's exciting.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the Nickelodeon documentary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's see.
Oh, Mank. That's a big one.
Yeah, Mank. That feels like it's a December movie, but it is a
I
November
know it
movie.
does, but I mean, last I checked, it said November. But
Yeah.
it feels like December though.
Fat Man is going to be coming to digital on November 24th, but I think you're going to have to pay for it. But still, I think that might be worth it.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think that's about it, really.
That's pretty much it at the moment, from what I understand.
Have you heard of Let Him Go?
Let him go.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so this is reuniting Costner and Diane Lane.
Hmm.
And basically, Dragon, from the sounds of it, it sounds like kind of like a Dear Zachary kind of premise where their wife, I'm sorry, their daughter's husband, I think their daughter's husband divorces, or their daughter divorces her husband and gets a new husband. And basically, the new husband's a piece of shit, and he has a very sketchy family who convinces her to take them away, to take her kid away from the grandparents, like basically to disassociate from the grandparents and to kind of like lead them into a cult. And so So Diane Keaton or Diane Lane and Kevin Costner have to get him back. So it's
And the
like
Kents just
grandparents.
can't.
It's like grandparents kind of like trying to take charge of a bad situation.
The Kents just can't catch a break, can they? They just.
Doesn't that sound like a good premise, though?
It does. It does. Also, I don't know. I assume this has to. I mean, assuming release dates and everything. I mean, De Niro's movie. De Niro has that interesting movie coming out either this month or next month, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right. So I think that's about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty then. Well, thanks to Pink Pearl, Claude, and Monkey for joining us this fine evening. Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. It's time to put the pen down. Until next time, we return for another fitty chapter in our
Moving
Memoirs.